people like that when I'm on mute. When the chair calls your name to provide public comment, if you're participating via phone, please press 6 to unmute yourself. So if they're not here, how could they understand what we said? Members of the public wishing to comment on an item by email. Oh, okay, we don't need to worry about that. Okay, roll call. All members of the committee are here. Oral communication from the public. Is there none here? Anybody online?
No hands raised.
Okay, no one from there. We will go with this. We will go now to item 4, the consent calendar. As any members had any changes or corrections to the meeting of September 2nd?
I have no changes or corrections to that. I have a friendly question about the Safe Routes to School final report.
Well, we're not there yet.
Okay, I just want to make sure you didn't skip it.
We're only at 4.1. We got that.
Okay.
That's down their ways there. Okay. Hearing no corrections, do I hear a motion to accept the minutes?
Sure, motion to accept. Second.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, unanimously passed. 4.2, the Transportation Committee meeting schedule. Now, since we don't know who's going to be on the committee next year, we'll approve it. Good luck to those people. Any corrections or additions to it? No, okay. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, all in favor of approving the meeting, the meetings and the calendar for the next 2026, say aye.
Aye.
Passes unanimously. 4.3 for Safe Routes to School final report. We received a report, and is there any kind of a staff memo on this or participation or presentation?
No, it is a consent item.
Okay, well, that doesn't mean, okay. I hear Councilmember Hicks has,
I have a couple of friendly questions about it,
Yeah.
since I have you all in front of me. I will accept, I do intend to accept the report, not change it. But I've been on the committee. I don't remember taking a deep dive into it in the past. So my first question is this the way we just get it submitted to us to read and receive is the way we do it on this committee? We never do a deeper dive. So I'm just gonna make a couple of comments. It was fascinating. And helpful because at least when I was last running, there was a lot of concern around safe routes to school, and we talked about it a lot. So I liked being able to review it. It was interesting to me that it talked both about safety and about mode change. I thought the highlight would be on safety, but there's actually no safety data in it. I believe we get that through some other forum, I know you do safety metrics on the streets in general, but so one comment is it might be nice to have some safety reporting in this report since it's called Safe Routes to School. And then the other thing is it would be nice to show more than 1 year change. I found all the tables fascinating, but it was only 2 years. And so it showed that biking decreased from last year, walking increased, and there was virtually no change in driving alone. So no mode shift out of cars, all fascinating, but only 1 year is not much of a trend. And it would have been nice to see multiple years. My comment for our chair, because I know that he's involved in mass transit issues, is that talking to school board members of MVWSD school board members, there's an interest, they use the shuttle, students do, and there's an interest in getting more transit access. So maybe you put your thinking cap on that. And then it also says that I noticed that only 4% of grade schoolers bike, which makes sense because mine were too little, don't try to buy a 5-year-old to school. But that goes up in middle school and then it's almost 20% of high schoolers. So it seems like all this training is mainly, a lot of it's focused in grade school. It's training them for later years. But my other comment is that it also, I was very happy to see that it shows how many people scoot to school on scooters. And that's how I brought my grade schoolers to school, because grade schoolers can scoot. And I would like more of a focus on that in the training. So those are all my unsolicited comments. And I move to accept the report.
Second.
Okay, discussion now. For a second. There is no reason that this committee cannot look more into the details of the safe route to school, since it's a high priority to a lot of people. So
Yeah.
never, as long as I'm chair, you could bring up anything at any time
Okay.
and we can dig into it. And I had some concerns about what I read too, that the metrics of how they showed which was good or bad, and I thought the numbers were pretty low, and so they didn't put it in context of some of this, what I saw, and I go, okay, 98% of the schools participated. So 98, so who's that 2% that didn't participate? These are rhetorical, so you guys don't have to. Who was in charge of this?
We have
Yeah.
Prioti Ahmed, so I'll invite her up to speak if you have specific questions.
No, not at the moment, no.
Oh,
These
Okay,
are-
comments, okay.
These are, no, these are observations that I have.
Direction.
Understood, yeah.
But if you want to come up and say what, but, so how do you, okay, come back. How do you get 98% of the schools to participate?
So, yeah, these are the students that they have to do a permission slip. So if to do a safety training, bike rodeo, especially bike rodeos, they're bringing in bike, and we also provide loaner bikes. And then they have to turn in the permission slip to join the safety. This year, past years, they also do pedestrian safety, but the bike rodeo, they check if they're actually on bike and stopping and looking and all of those other areas.
Because the way it was worded, it said 98% of the schools participated. And so the wording on it was a little confusing for me.
So all schools this year participated, all elementary school and middle schools participated. It's the number of students.
Okay, so 100% of the schools
Yeah.
participated.
Yeah,
If I find that.
yeah, public schools.
Okay, and also when I was reading it, it said staff. So was it the staff of Life or Bike Moves or whatever? Is that their staff versus city staff? Did you use it the same people, or was it their staff that participated in some of these things versus city staff?
So anything that happens in the school, so that's the safety training and bike rodeos are provided by Safe Moves. They are the safety trained professionals that they bring their bike and all the props and set up the rodeo and the safety training, and they go through the students. So their staff, meaning they're staff of the program as part of the consulting team.
Okay. Yeah, so again, a lot of it, when I saw it, sometimes there was I wish I had more there. I won't dwell on it since I didn't. Yeah, but they had, here it is. What year is this? Oh, March 4th, never mind. But yeah, a little more clarity of, if you only had 20%, was it 20%? Here's an example of how you interpret numbers. 20% could be the same as 2 out of 10. So when you say 2 out of 10, that doesn't sound like much, but when you say 20%, it gives it more meaning. So that's why when we look at the context, I always like to see the transactions or how many people actually participated in the whole thing versus
The actual
percentages.
numbers.
But yeah, next year, Alice, no, won't be
Next year, none of us will be on the
we
committee.
don't know.
Yeah, we don't.
So
But I think it would be nice for this committee to look at, to have it as an item to discuss. Do you train on scooters?
They do train on scooters as part of their rodeos.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, so because a lot of the kids, as you said, second, third, and fourth graders bring their scooters to school, so they have that.
I have an item, but I don't know if I want to bring it up at 6.2. it's e-bikes. So would e-bikes be under Safe Route to Schools or a total different category?
Well, it's in the report.
Yeah, so
What about
e-bikes have been kind of a
Yeah.
topic with the middle schoolers and high schoolers, and last year we saw a really big number of increase. So this year, we are working with a couple of things with the high schools. First, understand how many e-bikes they have, kind of talking about the volume in terms of how many students are biking and how many of them are e-bikes. Second, we are working with the schools to do sort of a webinar type of educational. So somebody will be on a virtual and talk through the different safety measure that the school can play various times of the day. That's one way to kind of really reach that high number of students that high schools have. And the third one, we are working with the PD to distribute the flyers and all the educational materials within the events, the safety training, the bike rodeos that we have. So those are the three ways we are currently addressing kind of the e-bike safety concerns.
Okay, the Monday before Thanksgiving, I was sitting at my Starbucks, enjoying a cup of coffee, and all of a sudden I heard a crash. And the crash was a seventh grader wearing on his e-bike broadsiding a Highlander. So the kid was going rather fast, and I was talking to the chief about this, and I go, how can we get our resource officers? Because this is going to get more. We're going to see a lot more of these accidents occurring. And I said, how can we be proactive to educate and also to follow the laws and so forth? Los Altos has done some tweaking of their code, and we need to do this same thing to get on board, because they're riding all over the place. They're enjoying our sleeper Franklin bypass. They're zipping right in, but they're all, they're wheeling, there are people on them. I see people aren't wearing their helmets. I see no lights at night. And so is that something that the Safe Routes group that can do the education work with the resource officers? That if we need to bring PD in to start citing kids for that, can your group, your staff can bring that down?
We certainly will work with them on the education side of things and things you said, helmets, lights at night, and follow the rules of the road. Those are definitely, we have developed materials and information that we'll do, whether they're citing or not, that I think for PD to determine.
So with the middle schools or the high schools, are you working with administration are they realizing the what's happening with e-bikes and potential out there to harm and riding all around?
Yes.
And are they addressing it, or are they relying on us?
I think it's we are trying to find the right level of approach that works for both of us. One of the issue with high school is there's 3,000 students, and we haven't found the right venue to kind of approach them. So for elementary and middle school, we do it through PE. We go through the whole PE for 2 weeks, and we do safety training and bike rodeos. We haven't had that type of structure with high school students just because it's so big. So one of the ideas is there's two. Right beginning of the school year, we'll do kind of whoever has an e-bike, they'll take some sort of a training with us. And that's when we talk about how fast your e-bike can go, importance of wearing helmet, lights, rules of the road. And then we do this webinar approach where we develop something that's evergreen and they can play it throughout during assembly, during, they have like a flex period. So they just have a little bit more flexibility of how they would educate. But they're very well aware of this as an issue. They're trying to grapple, because I think it's a pretty it started and then a lot of kids now got it. So it's the change had happened quite rapidly. So they're still kind of figuring out how they can address that. But they're very well aware, and they're willing to work with us.
Can they require kids that use e-bikes to
Pardon?
get a permit or record them there on campus? Have they started looking at consequences of how to enforce?
We have definitely talked about having a permit and consequences, meaning either citing, or if you don't have a help, some sort of a enforcement that even school can do. But I think they want to see a little bit more education approach rather before they going into that.
So are you on a timeline or is it just sort of sporadic? Or as we say at our next meeting, you could give us an update on e-bikes? Is that something possible? If you're making conversations with the PD and the schools?
The program, the reports we have presented today, it's yearly. So
Okay.
my program has started with, school year, and I'm working with the schools too. So the goal is really to provide education throughout the year, throughout the school year, with those two different venues.
So I think what the team is trying to say is that an e-bike is still a bike. So all of the training that is being provided for the bike training will apply to e-bikes. There's just this additional nuance of the motorized bikes and the speed that they can go at that the team is looking to now incorporate because it's becoming more of a trend to see the e-bikes for the older kids.
And I would like us to be proactive on proper use of an e-bike. The back the helmets and lights and not doing pop-up wheelies and not, and two
Yes.
people. And that entails the PD. Is there?
We can start some conversations with PD. I don't know that, we can promise on their behalf that they will do certain enforcement actions, but we can certainly start up the conversations with them.
Is that something that I would like this committee to be helpful or proactive, bring it to council and so forth. So if we get some updates on that, as I say, I'm already in communication with the chief about the last one. When I saw the kid hit the thing. Fortunately, he was wearing a helmet. He got up, but he did go to Stanford for a checkout and had a son. But this is not going to be the first we're going to see. So. Okay.
It's a trend that's being monitored and we're looking to kind of continuously tweak our education programs to incorporate the trends.
Okay, so at our next calendar 26, could we have an update on this?
Yeah, I think we can include some information.
I mean, it could be written.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Anyway, so sorry.
I think the only question that I might that I reflect on is this is focused so much on like the youth. But I think from what I've been hearing and observing, a lot of it is those who are in the car. And so I'm not sure what the city can do to kind of address like that component because we have 25 miles an hour near school zones, and yet I see people flooring it past schools all the time. There's a couple areas, particularly like the Crittenden area where people have reached out to council quite a bit. And so I know we're going to be talking about our active transportation plan, et cetera. I'm just wondering how we kind of address the vehicular side of things and the educational component in conjunction. Like we try to let people know we have a Vision Zero, we have a Safe Routes to School, but the onus isn't just on like the youth, right? It needs to be those who are behind the wheel as well.
Yeah, so as part of the back to school, that's when we really push out the driver education. So that's when we have like how to do drop off safely. Like we know you have to do sometimes drive drop off, but how to do it the safest way. So we do that during back to school night and throughout the year, especially our citywide events, so Monster Bash, Earth Day, that's when we really try to talk to the adults to say importance of staying within the speed limit and extra attention because kids are on bike and walking. So those are the ways we're doing. I mean, Vision Zero campaign, that was another venue to reach drivers and educate about driver safety.
Yeah, if there's any, I think if that's a trend that we can monitor too with like other jurisdictions on how they may be like tackling that component outside of just, because those are kind of really isolated events, but it feels like, like the holiday season, daylight savings, it just, is there something we could be doing, for example, like at tree lighting or other events where we can like re-emphasize that?
Well, we will be back at tree lighting.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Because I
And
feel
we'll
like.
do a ped game, which focuses on driver and paying attention and all of that. It's more focused, a little bit older and then teen and then parents.
Yeah, and then interesting too, the tracking on the shuttle. So I think that kind of goes in line with what I've heard too about youth not wanting to drive. And so, you know, the utilization of the shuttle and continuing to monitor that, I think people have really kind of used our shuttle even more with our expanded hours and expanded routes. So does council need to do even more there and invest in as we're monitoring that? I'd just be curious.
They would like us, the school
I'm
board
sure.
would like us to, and John, you're a big advocate of school
Oh, I
buses.
am, but the school board does not want to touch it because of the cost and
Right,
the consequences
But
of
it's
it.
an item, it's.
But I
an
always-
item of
yeah,
conversation.
The new superintendent, so I was hitting up when he was at Los Altos. Yeah, I think if we want to do that, we really have to start seeing where we get money or save money to increase our shuttle service. When I was on the PTA board before, we were able to take a bus over in Los Altos. It went past one of the middle schools in the Homestead. And they were taking a stop at 7:30 in the morning at a senior home. And they go, how many people are getting from the seniors getting on the bus? And they go, about 0, but you're still stopping. Well, we were able to convince VTA to change the route to, instead of going to the senior home, they picked up kids from over the Highlands, over Grant area, and take them to the middle school and to the high school. So, but they had a bus already going there. So if we can work with VTA, or if we can increase our capacity of
Right.
shuttle.
I mean, I think those are the kinds of adjustments we should be thinking.
Oh, I
about.
love- I would
As
like
we're
to see
getting
the-
data, you can see where people are getting
Yeah.
on and off,
Oh,
right?
but I would
So-
just the congestion, the drive time, the emissions and so forth.
Mhm.
So,
Anyway, I was gonna say, great job.
Yeah.
I wish this program were around when my kids were in school. It's really training for life, I think.
Thank you so much.
any other comments from this esteemed body?
Well, just I would like to, I think council should check in on this and know where it's going, because I think it's something we've all been concerned about.
Do you want to run it past CTC or you want to do it to council? How would you like to? You don't need to have 2 reports, so I agree with, I'm just saying,
Yeah.
let's pick one or the other. For staff, so they don't have to do it twice, or,
My understanding is typically in the past, it's actually only stopped at BPAC. It was just this past cycle or past year or something like that, where it got requested to be elevated to the CTC.
So maybe
So this is our first time.
well,
So maybe when we do our item 8 council reports, as chair, you could talk about how we discuss safe routes at the school at our CTC meeting and highlight it and elevate it, and that you can via our clerk, pass the report out to the rest of our colleagues. That would be my suggestion.
we are gonna change the culture a little bit here, so, yeah. We'll talk about how the best way to do it. Is that fair?
Sure.
Okay.
We can do that.
Thank you, Lou. Both of you. Good. That was a good way to start. Okay.
Did we pass that?
Yeah, we have
We
to
accept
pass
the
the
report?
consent calendar.
Okay.
It was just an it's informational, whether the action item, I don't
If
think,
it's done, then it's done.
that was an informational item. We had to do, that was the action item, and the other 2 were just, and 4.3 was a. Yeah, it's just informational, so we don't need to vote on that, correct?
It was part of the consent, so I would recommend it's part of the whole consent motion.
Okay, I move to accept the
So we did 4.1, 4.2.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
It passes unanimously. We'll just have to. Okay, we are into new business. Oh, please stay. But
Young kids.
we all have kids. She has kids, she wants about, oh no, that's right, you went to the part of it. Okay, new business, transit center grade separation access project. Interim improvements, okay? And I saw we got do we have a city staff report in?
We do have a presentation.
Have a presentation, Joy Houghton, Senior Civil Engineer.
Looks like food.
On to me. Good evening, Chair and committee members. Before I start, I want to confirm that the public is seeing the slides.
Double
We
check.
had that issue with.
Thanks for
before.
putting that up there.
Is it showing?
You get one letter from our former interim city manager.
One from someone.
Because you can see it.
Correspondence.
Okay.
You can start. We'll get a ding
Yes,
if it's
good.
not.
You good?
Good evening, Chair and committee members. My name's Joy Houghton, Senior Civil Engineer with Robert Gonzalez here, Principal Civil Engineer in Public Works. And we are here to present and receive input on the concept design for the Transit Center Grade Separation and Access Project, or what we are now calling as the Castro and Evelyn Interim Improvements. To start with some background, grade separating Castro Street from the railroad tracks has long been a high priority for the city, aimed at improving safety for all modes of travel. Starting in 2015, when City Council authorized the development of the Transit Center Master Plan, which includes the Transit Center Grade Separation and Access Project. And I will outline the scope of that project on the next slide.
2015 was a good year.
Design work for the Transit Center Grade Separation and Access Project began in 2022 with Caltrain leading the project delivery, the Santa Clara Valley Transportation Authority providing Measure B funding, and the city serving as the project sponsor. In September 2023, at the 65% design milestone, Caltrain provided the city the updated project cost, which was significantly higher than the Caltrain provided cost at the 35% design stage. In January of 2024, City Council received an update on the status and cost estimates for both Castro and Ringsdorf grade separation projects. City Council selected to prioritize Ringsdorf and move forward with the Castro interim improvements to implement improvements at the at-grade crossing at Castro Street. In June 2025, staff received the 35% design submittal, and today we are continuing to progress design to 65%. Now I'd like to share some background regarding the Castro Street closure. Temporary signage and barriers remain in place to prohibit vehicle movements and queuing at the rail crossing for southbound traffic on Castro toward Evelyn Avenue to support both the Castro Streets program, which was implemented in June of 2020, and the Castro Pedestrian Mall, which was established in October of 2022. The Transit Center Grade Separation and Access Project is the first element of the Transit Center Master Plan implementation. The Grade Separation and Access Project proposes to eliminate the vehicle at grade rail crossing, construct a new vehicle ramp from West Evelyn to Shoreline, a shared use path on the south side of Evelyn between Franklin and the west side of Shoreline, and undercrossings underneath Caltrain tracks and Central Expressway with access points at Castro, Sterling Road, and Adobe. As previously mentioned, Council selected to prioritize the Ringsdorf grade separation project, recognizing interim improvements can be implemented at the rail crossing at Castro. And with Council support, staff has shifted focus on the interim improvements at Castro rail crossing with what we now refer to as the Castro and Evelyn interim improvements. Castro Street, including the Evelyn Avenue crossing, is a critical gateway to downtown and a key access point to the Mountain View Transit Center. The existing crossing at Evelyn Avenue and Castro Street carries heavy pedestrian and bicycle activity, with more than 1,700 pedestrians and 800 bicyclists crossing the railroad tracks each day. The Castro and Evelyn Interim Improvements Project will remove the vehicle at grade crossing at the Caltrain tracks at Castro Street and provide a safer crossing for pedestrians and bicyclists across the rail corridor and Central Expressway, improving access to both downtown and the transit center. The proposed improvements are organized into 3 segments and will be implemented all together. Segment 1 is Evelyn Avenue between Hope Street and Bryant Avenue. Segment 2 is Moffett Boulevard between Central Expressway and Jackson Street. And segment 3 is the Castro, Evelyn, and Rail Crossing area. Starting with segment 1, Evelyn Avenue east of Castro between Hope and Castro. The project will install a Class 2 buffered bike lane on the north side of Evelyn for westbound bicyclists, and the Class 4 separated bikeway on the south side of Evelyn for eastbound bicyclists. The bike lane improvements in this section will result in elimination of 2 parking spaces along Evelyn Avenue. In addition, the traffic signal at Evelyn and Hope intersection will be modified to accommodate the elimination of the eastbound vehicular traffic between Castro and Hope. Continuing on with segment 1, Evelyn at Castro. The project will install Class 2 buffered bike lane on the north side of Evelyn that transitions to a Class 3 bike route west of Castro for westbound bicyclists, and a Class 4 separated bikeway on the south side of Evelyn for eastbound bicyclists. Landscaping will be installed on the north side of Evelyn, which will include curb and gutter to restrict vehicular access and green stormwater infrastructure, and also on the west side of Castro, which will include trees and planter boxes. These landscape areas will not only serve to enhance the area, but also channelize pedestrian traffic to the marked crossings. The 2 pedestrian crossings on both sides of Castro will be upgraded with Americans with Disabilities Act or ADA compliant curb ramps, pedestrian crossing signage, high visibility crosswalks, and street light. On the westerly part of segment 1, Evelyn Avenue west of Castro, this is between Castro and Bryant. Class 3 bike route markings will be installed on the north side of Evelyn between Castro and Wild Cherry Lane for westbound bicyclists. And Class 4 separate bikeway will be installed on the south side of Evelyn for eastbound bicyclists between Castro and Wild Cherry Lane. The bike lane improvements in this section will result in elimination of 10 parking spaces along Evelyn. Next segment is 2, Moffett Boulevard north of Central Expressway. For orientation, Jackson Street is on the right and Central Expressway is on the left. The project will convert a portion of the existing southbound Class 2 bike lane to a Class 4 separated bikeway, utilizing the existing southbound vehicle lanes, which are currently closed due to the Castro Street closure. No changes are proposed to the northbound traffic or bicycle facilities on Moffett Boulevard north of Central Expressway. Future improvements will be addressed through the Moffett Boulevard Precise Plan, which is currently in development and will include recommended street cross sections for this segment of the corridor. Continuing on to segment 2, Moffett Boulevard at Central Expressway. The intersection will be converted to a T intersection with the elimination of the northbound vehicular crossing at Castro. The project will modify the intersection's traffic signal to remove the rail preemption, which is a safety feature that links the railroad equipment to nearby traffic signals to clear vehicles from the tracks when a train approaches. Eliminating the rail preemption will shorten the pedestrian and bicyclist wait times at Central Expressway, as their crossings will no longer be delayed by the gate downtime during train activity on Castro. The project will also refresh the Central Expressway crosswalks and install ADA compliant curb ramps on the south side of Central Expressway. Additionally, green bike lane striping and bicycle ramps will be installed for bicyclists crossing the intersection. Next is segment 3, the rail crossing at Castro Evelyn. Again, for orientation, Central Expressway is at the top and down at the bottom is the Evelyn connection at Castro. The proposed improvements at this location include elimination of the northbound vehicular access at Castro and removal of the crossing gates, traffic signal, roadway asphalt concrete, and concrete track panels. elimination of the westerly pedestrian at-grade crossing and widening of the existing easterly pedestrian at-grade crossing from 10 feet to 15 feet. Installation of curb, gutter, and concrete surfacing on Castro south of Central Expressway to permanently restrict vehicular access. Installation of decorative fencing along Caltrain tracks and right-of-way to enhance safety. And upgrades to street lighting to improve nighttime visibility. Staff is currently exploring the feasibility of adding landscaping along Central Expressway to further enhance user experience. As mentioned, the project will enhance pedestrian and bicycle experience by reducing wait times at Central Expressway and eliminating the westerly at-grade crossing, minimizing the conflict points at the railroad crossing. These changes will result in a minor adjustment to the bicycle and pedestrian circulation. For pedestrians heading southbound from the northeast corner of Moffett and Central, no change is proposed in circulation or access to the transit center or downtown. There is a minor adjustment for bikes and peds heading southbound from the northwest corner of Moffett and Central. Bikes and peds will cross Central Expressway and head east to the widened at-grade rail crossing and continue on to Evelyn Avenue to the transit center or downtown. This new path adds a short distance up to the travel path from the west side of Central Expressway intersection. No change in circulation is proposed for bikes and peds on the east side of Castro heading northbound from downtown or transit center. For bikes and peds coming from the west side of Castro Street heading north, they will need to cross Evelyn Avenue, head east, and cross at the easterly at-grade rail crossing to continue northbound. Similar to the bike ped circulation, there are also some adjustments proposed to the vehicle circulation as a result of the elimination of the northbound vehicular access on Castro Street. Westbound vehicles on Evelyn heading northbound to access Moffett Boulevard or Central Expressway will be routed to Villa Street through either Bryant Street or Franklin Street. From Villa Street, vehicles will use Shoreline Boulevard to connect to Central Expressway to head northbound on Moffett Boulevard or continue on to Central. Similarly, southbound vehicles originating from the north heading into the transit center or downtown will continue to have access via Shoreline Boulevard, Villa Street, and Hope Street. Staff presented the design concept to the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee on November 17th, 2025. The BPAC made a motion to request the CTC to have staff convey community desire to keep both pedestrian crossings at Caltrain right-of-way. In addition to the motion, the BPAC provided the following feedback, including anticipate high pedestrian and bicyclist counts, convert easterly crossing on Evelyn to a diagonal crossing, remove parking between Wild Cherry Lane and Castro Street, conduct a walk audit with design team and the public, add bike lane improvements on northbound Moffett Boulevard, north of Central Expressway, add the bicycle ramp near the easterly crossing on Evelyn Avenue, add signals at the two Evelyn Avenue crossings, and add bollards to the south side of Central Expressway. Based on staff's initial assessment, staff will incorporate the elements highlighted in green, and staff will continue to evaluate the items in gray and need further feedback from the CTC for inclusion in the project scope. Moving on to project costs and next steps. The project is funded through final design utilizing the 2016 VTA Measure B funds. The current project cost based on the 35% design plan is $6.6 million. The project has sufficient funds to construct the project when design is complete. For next steps, staff will evaluate BPAC and CTC feedback and will forward a recommendation to City Council to approve the design concept and advance to final design in early 2026. Final design of the project is expected fall of 2026, and construction is anticipated to begin early 2027. To conclude, I'd like to display staff's recommendation to the committee on the screen. Staff has presented the project update, and we welcome your feedback on regarding concepts.
Yeah, thank you. Oh, okay. Okay, does any members of the committee have, does any members have answer question, does any members of the committee have questions?
My question.
Okay, only one?
I have more than one.
Good, thank you. Okay, go for it.
So I think my questions fall into two categories, kind of the, this is a gateway to the downtown, so ones that talk more about that. And then the sort of more the kinds of things that BPAC covers are second, although maybe other people have those same questions, so maybe I'll even let other committee members ask those. So I'm wondering, first I have one that is not about a gateway. Since we're not doing the grade separation, I read an article on the train station in Palo Alto that they're going to use, because they can't do their grade separation right now either. They're going to use AI for safety. Basically, what that seems to entail is that with trains is they can stop on a dime. So they get an advance warning that there may be somebody or something in their way. And is that something that we're looking at to enhance safety?
Yes, so that software package, I'll call it, is called Rail Sentry. It's already being deployed in other places. The city and VTA are looking to enter into agreement where VTA would give us some corridor improvement funds in order to have those installed at Mountain View locations.
Oh.
Sorry, I was there for 13 years. That's a habit.
Great. Since we can't do the grade separation, I think that's a good safety step. That's the answer I wanted. Then, since this is a gateway to the pedestrian mall and to hopefully an enhanced Moffett, back and forth. Okay, my first question on that is, what kind of planter boxes are these? And what's the reason for them? Is it because we expect to continually upgrade the area, maybe do a grade separation at some point? So you want the trees to be mobile, or,
That's exactly it. In the event that we find the funds to construct the grade separation in the future, we want to minimize the impact the trees in the future by being able to relocate them at a different location rather than cutting them down.
And then we have a designer for the downtown, or we did in the past. Are you running any of this, the decorative fence and the container, the planter boxes? Are we running it through someone for, let's see, not an interior decorator, an exterior decorator?
Not at this time. The decorative fencing will be consistent with what's already out there, which is a Caltrain standard. So black ones with kind of the circular pattern on top.
I do know this.
And as far as the planters, we have, I believe, other projects we can look into that have used them in the past that we can consider for this.
Yeah,
But
I
this
would just
time the
like
detail.
some consideration that it is a gateway and then the other thing is the pictures you showed, I don't know if when you showed the separated bikeways, it was shaded in brown, I would say. And I think what you were showing when you were showing the separation for the bikeways was stripes on the road, I think, but I might be wrong. That's how I was
Yes.
interpreting the graphic.
And it will also have vertical elements.
Oh, it will have vertical elements too.
Yes.
What elements, what are the, oh, like, I don't know the technical name for them, but the black rubberized humps? Or
Armadillos.
Taller,
yes.
higher vertical elements, some
Bollards.
bollards, and it will be consistent with the other bollards proposed for the downtown area.
Okay, I just, there's many ways to do it, and since it's a gateway, since it's not, frankly, the way we used to look at Moffett was, this is a roadway off to Nowheresville. And there was no thought put into it, and I think that makes a difference. That was not true, in our downtown. There was a lot of thought put into how the sidewalks were designed and trees and so forth. And I think it's time for us to look at this as what's it's right in the part of our city, and to have some consideration of what it means to be a gateway. So I guess that's where my question is going, but I'll make that would be a statement, not a question. So the rest of my questions are that we had 2 residents make various kinds of requests, but I don't know if I don't want to dominate the questions. I'll let,
okay.
you want me to ask, because I'm just reading off. So we had a Mr. Bozels suggest a quiet zone. Is that something that could be looked into, or is being looked into, or cannot be looked into? Can we answer the residents' question?
We have a quiet zone project on this year's CIP. The team that would be delivering the quiet zone has had several vacancies in recent times. And so that'll be looked to get started up sometime in spring or so of 26.
Okay, so if Mr. Boza's listening, he now has a timeline, a yes and a timeline. He also asked whether it would be possible to do a pedestrian scramble. And I think if other committee members can help me, I think he means over Central Expressway. You
Yeah.
thought that's what he meant?
Where they are
That's my
vertical to the
understanding.
one side, it's. You had a triangular photo, I guess that was in the staff report, but. Yeah.
To our knowledge, this is first, this is a Santa Clara County intersection. So they would be managing, we can certainly communicate that to them as a question. To our knowledge, I don't think there's another expressway intersection in Santa Clara County that has a scramble.
So that would make it super fun if it was here. People would come just to scramble.
Possibly.
We could do that at Village.
Well, ask the question and see, who knows?
We can do that, but it won't be part of this project.
Okay,
He
just ask.
answered it for you.
Okay, just ask. And then he also asked, but I don't know if this is in the category of future improvements, Moffett Central Expressway curb extensions.
The right turn, if you're coming west on Central Expressway and you're making a right on the Moffett, you're going right into the, like, if you bring up the slide.
Yeah, so the project limits will not include the expressway. So we do some striping in the expressway, based on the county's approval, but we won't put bulb outs into the expressway. So if the question is, would we consider bulb outs into Moffett? That is also part of we can communicate that out
For future.
for future. We are working together with the precise plan.
Okay,
The Moffett precise plan is also in development.
okay.
He's
so-
referring to the lower left-hand corner
Mhm.
where you can see the crosswalk basically is where people are turning right. So people would be going into the crosswalk. Or the cars potentially.
Okay, so we have 3 answers here. The curb extensions is refer for future improvements. Pedestrian scramble is, we'll ask that question just as a point of interest, and the quiet zone is we're working on it. Okay, and then Mr. Kuzma asked some questions as well. Can the new updated signals provide a separate right turn phase for traffic coming from Moffett? And implement a no right turn on red? So this, I imagine, was the BPAC question about signals? Maybe related to that.
This is something we can discuss with the county, but as Principal Civil Engineer Robert Gonzalez mentioned, this is a Santa Clara County owned and
Mhm.
operated intersection. And any improvements to the signal phasing will need to be coordinated with the
So
county.
similar to El Camino, we asked, but they said no. Okay. Just to
Okay.
help you out on that one.
Okay, so the answer to that is maybe. Then there was a request that sidewalks on Moffett use smooth paving. I suppose that's rather than the paving type that is on Castro Street on sidewalks.
That's how I read it too, yes. So yeah, we'll communicate that. That's a
Communicate that,
design
that's a
detail we haven't
future
got to,
thing.
but I agree.
Will buses be able to use the new westbound Evelyn Avenue connector?
Yes.
Yes, okay. Can crosswalks across Evelyn be raised crosswalks?
That has been considered substantially between our transportation group, our traffic group, and the other design groups. For this particular layout, we think the speeds are already low enough because of the two turns, and visibility is already high enough. We don't think there is a added benefit to raising the crosswalks. There are some detriments to raising the crosswalks. Now you have to deal with drainage changes. So we didn't see that as a marginal improvement. So we have a lot of pedestrian focused safety elements for those two crossings, and we didn't think the raised crosswalk would add a lot more to that.
Okay.
One thing to add is that VTA, because of where the crosswalk is located at Castro, it's right at a bend. And VTA buses, as they're going that way, then each wheel goes over the crosswalk as they're making the bend. So it's like double the rocking on a bus, which is pretty disruptive for a bus versus if it's just a raised crosswalk on a street, it's just over and over.
So you've answered all the residents, my questions and the residents' questions now. And that, so I'm done. Questions. Great.
Am I allowed? Okay.
Well,
So-
there's not too many people here, so yes, you are up.
Okay, great. So my questions, so can you, can you walk me through the decisions on the bike ped circulation and the vehicle circulation? So I think, I don't want to like teeter into comments, but I think like, well, oh, how about this? First question, how long do we actually think interim is going to be? Cause I think that affects, right? Because I think prior we thought interim might be 5-ish years. I mean, guesstimating.
A grade separation is several $100 million.
So I think
So it-
now we're,
until we find the money.
yeah, so I think now it's kind of like this. We're calling it interim, but we're not sure how long interim is going to be. So in a lot of ways, we need to be thinking of it. I guess my scope has changed in that I'm thinking about things from a more permanent perspective. And I just want to confirm with staff, this is likely, asking about the trees and the planter
That's why I
boxes.
asked about
it's-
gateway. I
but
don't
it's-
think it's a year.
Yeah, so I don't know what staff's thoughts or what you're, willing to say publicly on all that, but I think as this has gone on, I feel like, is it truly interim anymore? I don't know. And I don't know how staff feels about that.
So our approach has been, it needs to work.
Yeah.
It needs to work on an interim basis and a permanent basis. So elements
Okay, so it's
elements
mixing.
such as trees, we can think of as temporary or interim, and those things need to be moved. But certainly any pedestrian vehicle safety elements need to function as if they were permanent.
Okay. All right, great, thank you. So that kind of goes into my questions about the bike ped circulation change and the vehicle circulation change. Can you just So as we're making these decisions, and I was trying to look through on the staff report to see like if I had missed it. So can you just share a little bit like is there data that we evaluate that leads us to this? Just a little bit more color on it. Is that something staff can provide or
Can we start?
like
You want to start? Yeah.
I see that it says it'll reduce wait times as
So-
illustrated in the figure, but then
Let
that's
me-
it, and then it goes right into vehicle circulation. So I just, like, I
Sure,
felt-
let me start with vehicle circulation, because that's kind of fundamentally where the grade separation
Uh-huh.
began as well. One of the benefits of the grade separation is that you are eliminating conflicts. With the vehicles separations that we're recommending here, the circulation patterns, is that we're closing the crossing of the the rails to the through direction of Moffett and the right turn onto Central Expressway. So there won't be vehicle access there. So that kind of fundamentally redefines how circulation for vehicles is going to go. So everything else kind of is a domino effect, is a downstream effect from that decision. And that was really keying off of the original grade separation
Okay.
intent.
Yeah, so we're still thinking about it from that original design that we had all seen, where it's raised and then kind of the underneath, where, you know, we're telling residents, even though we're not at grade separation, that's the direction we would go to, because that's right.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Okay.
We see
So
the
that's
same fundamental purpose is pedestrian and vehicle safety. Eliminating the rail crossing fundamentally improves that for vehicles. So that's how we get the vehicle circulation. The
Okay.
pedestrian circulation, similarly, just like the original, the permanent Castro grade separation, our intent was to maintain and in some ways as we could improve the pedestrian circulation and bike circulation across this corridor, through this corridor. So with that, we're improving elements, you know, from Evelyn all the way up to Moffett, and essentially showing how pedestrians and cyclists would use the corridor. Caltrain emphasized that when they look at it from a rail corridor perspective, and they see the elimination of a crossing as a net benefit. So that's why the elimination of the western crossing was identified from them. Was one crossing is safer than two crossings, and then that kind of defines some of the circulation constraints that we have.
So we should think of it as it would only be one crossing anyways, because people would be going underneath that grade separation from the
Yes.
original design. So
One
it's kind of
other
like
crossing.
same
Yeah,
idea.
yeah, that's a good way to look at it.
Okay, I'm just trying to put the puzzle pieces together with, I
Mhm.
guess, the hope that one day we will get that grade
Yes.
separation.
Yes.
And I think honestly, to be able to tell the stories be able to tell the story to residents about why we're doing the approach that we are. Cause I just, in reading the staff report, I just felt like maybe, well, I don't want to teeter into comments, but I think connecting those dots
Yeah.
to the original design and why.
There's a lot of moving parts in this
Yeah,
design.
yeah, okay, so that's helpful. All right, okay, those are my questions. Oh, one last question. Can we, for the community outreach, I know that typically we only do it in the notices mailed to residents and businesses within the 750 feet, but given that this is like in our heart of downtown, everyone uses it, is it something that we can expand or send to all our at least the listservs, emails? Cause I do think people would have an interest in knowing what we're doing.
Community groups.
All the community groups, because I say this where I wouldn't want it to get to council and then residents feel like this wasn't daylighted enough. Given it's it's one of the most highly utilized transit stops along. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Buckle. Okay, ask questions, comments will come later. Pick off our first slide on 2. So 2015. I was here. And it took 7 years to get just to get started the project design. So I remember, it was, Ed, were you here in 2015?
I was.
Okay. And we can reminisce. Because I remember a design that was presented at the time to do things, and it looks like things are changing a little bit. So, just curiosity, why did it take 7 years to go from 2015 to 22? Anybody?
7 years to go from 2015 to 20.
Yeah, why did it take 7 years to get started on this project? The council just kept kicking it down the road? Okay, you can get back on me. It was just curiosity on that one.
We can come up with an answer on that one, but I did not prepare for that question.
Oh, well, you'll figure this out soon. Yeah, I'm looking at this and let's go to the numbers where you show 17 pedestrians and 800 bikes. You know, I'm big on data, and decisions should be based on data, not on a committee saying you should do this. So when you say 1,700 pedestrians a day, where are they coming from? There's many access points, so where are they coming from? They're just 1,700 pedestrians,
This
right, or
is-
700?
1,700.
Okay, what direction are they coming from?
This is both directions.
When you say
on
both, I mean,
Castro.
there's, okay,
This
so
is,
they're coming,
the counts we're taking exactly at the tracks. So the bikes and peds are coming from both directions, southbound and northbound. Crossing the tracks.
okay, so it's not east or west. Okay, so these 1,700 pedestrians are coming from Moffett, and they're also coming, so they're coming both.
Yes,
Do we have a distinction between the two?
we do.
Okay,
I don't know off the top of my head, but I can grab
Okay.
it if you're interested.
well, I have, because you're doing a lot of design, bike peds and all this stuff. And so I like to know if we're gonna do things, just like on the shoreline, when you said 19 pedestrians unit, I like to get a better idea to put the concept there, because you gave us $6.6 million and it could change. And so if we're gonna build this interim, let's do it sufficiently and effectively so that we know where people are coming from. And the 800 bicyclists, same deal? They're coming
Yes.
from Moffett or whatever,
Yes.
okay. And do we know, are they taking light rail, or are they taking just transit? Or are they taking buses? Do we know how they're divided up between light rail, Caltrain, and,
I don't
Me too.
have that data.
okay, but is it important to know that?
So that information may have been in the original transit center master plan. Some of that data may have been taken as a snapshot. For this particular project, when we initiated it, the decision to go into an interim direction kind of dictated some of the design choices.
Okay.
Such as eliminating the rail crossing, moving everything in one direction. But we did not pull additional data, particularly with destinations or origination points. The data counts here were specifically at the rail crossing, so we did not track whether they were going downtown or to light rail or to Caltrain.
Did you determine between morning and afternoon?
I think we have some of that data.
This is a full day, 24-hour count.
Okay. Okay, so at some point, there's a big rush to know. That's why I always like to know. At any rail station, I like to know, okay, we're doing this, and then all of a sudden it gets quiet. Do we spend money for the whole day, or do we just spend, let's take care of the half an hour slam period and build it and go from there?
We can look for AM, PM peaks.
Yeah, yeah.
See.
Looking, oh, sorry.
We have the counts and we can share with you
Okay,
after
please.
the meeting.
Going forward, I personally, for this committee, like to see the data of how people are moving around. So on your slide here, on this one, just take this one. At Evelyn, eventually, cars will cars always be able to make the S turn from Evelyn to the west side of Castro?
Yes, this design,
They'll always be able to do that.
Yes,
Okay,
even
so
with
you're not
the
cutting
grade
off-
separation.
So there, okay, so that will continue. On this thing, one thing when we were initially looking at the design of this on the north side of Central Expressway, we were looking at a spot for the commuter buses. So help me understand, if things get back to somewhat normal, these commuter buses are picking people up. And right now, you're gonna have them going all kind of convoluted, or once you get it figured out, routes. And they're gonna be going here. And I just see a lot of noise, congestion, emissions. So how are we gonna move these? And do we know how many commuter buses are coming in here now?
I do not have that.
Okay. So with that, how do you expect the buses to do? Are you gonna use that diagram where you showed that they go up this way and then go this way and then go back south again and then go? I mean, we need to find an
Yes.
effective way to get them in and out. And that's why with the original design, we were looking at something on north of Central Expressway. And also we were looking at a side on Central Expressway so the people could get and walk that way. So how are you gonna handle commuter buses?
The commuter buses will, the northbound commuter buses will have to take the route as presented on the screen. The southbound direction follows what's existing right now since there is no southbound
So
access
could you
to
go to that
Castro.
slide while we're talking about that, please? Yeah,
so this shows that the buses will remain at the transit center. We're not proposing to move those shuttle bus stops onto the expressway side.
well, I mean, this is the bus shuttles for North Bay Shore. So they're gonna be taking this potential route.
Yes, so this follows closely what was proposed with the grade separation project. The only difference is that they would continue on to Evelyn. That would eventually include a ramp that connects onto Shoreline.
Okay. But does this, and then the reverse for, well, would they? Well, some of them may not go back on the Moffett. They may just stay on Shoreline and go north. Okay.
They won't go.
But
We looked at that ramp a couple meetings ago, didn't we?
the Evelyn ramp? It made sense at the time, but it's still, okay. So
They won't go back, John. They'll go straight up Shoreline to go.
Yeah, I think they'll take that ramp that I can't, was it this year, last year? I can't remember. But we talked about the ramp, right? So I
The
think,
Evelyn, so they'll be coming up Evelyn, get onto Shoreline
Yes.
and,
so they won't have to kind of go. that
okay,
loop-de-loop.
gerrymander around town. If you got a 6.6 million project, does that include the ramp?
That does not include the ramp.
So the ramps, this is what they'll be doing now.
Yeah, okay, well, that's what I'm trying to put things, you guys have been involved, I'm just seeing this for the first time and I'm concerned about the flow of the bus transit. Okay, that one, so if you go back to some earlier ones. So when you count your, this, and the BPAC suggests that they're gonna be high volume, are people going to start going onto Evelyn and riding their bikes? Where do you, go back to the 17, that part, please. Where do you expect this heavy concentration of bike riders to be and pedestrians coming from? Why all of a sudden, when you do this crossing, that you're gonna have a heavier amount of people?
No, it's the same people who are, it's the same people who are crossing now.
Okay, no,
So
well,
BPAC mentioned two specific factors that may increase pedestrian traffic. One is that there's a school on the west side of Shoreline connecting to Evelyn that's heavily used now. So if that school expands, then there's more traffic there. Second is more of a statewide initiative, which is encouraging higher density housing near transit. So if there's higher density, so if more development in the transit area ends up coming in the next several years, that would by implication, that's more foot traffic.
But those numbers are for right now.
Correct.
but, okay, so the transit center, because we were looking at developing the Caltrain and the VTA lots there. So there wouldn't be potential where you're saying they would get on transit or they would just live there but take bicycles and leave the transit center to go throughout the area. I'm trying to anticipate, and you're saying you're gonna increase the housing, so like on Moffett, the Prometheus project is gonna potentially add people to it. You think they're gonna, this is where they're getting these anticipate high pedestrian and bicyclist counts?
Well, like I said, BPAC identified two specific factors. One was increased housing, and the other one was the school at the western end of Evelyn.
The western end of Evelyn, you mean the Kana, what's his name?
That's
Yeah,
right, yes.
Academy.
Yeah, that campus there.
And they expect that to grow significantly?
Oh, BPAC mentioned those two factors. I don't know if they've mentioned a growth rate or
Okay.
a cap.
And the reason, well, you sounded like you were gonna incorporate their comments in there, and that's why I was trying to get a better understanding of just two things that you went ahead and anticipated there.
I don't know if that comment specifically changes anything as part of the design. That was one of their comments back to us
Okay.
to kind of keep in mind. But it doesn't say change the width of a rail crossing or the size or type of bike infrastructure we would recommend.
Okay. Okay, let's go then and see here. So if I look at slide 6, please. So is the bike lane going to be on both sides of the street or on the north side of the street?
It's on both sides of the street. On north of Evelyn is for westbound bicyclists, and then the south side of Evelyn is for eastbound bicyclists.
Well, I'm looking at the arrows. Right above where it says 18 feet, the arrows are all heading north and so are those, why are those arrows there? What do they indicate flow?
For vehicles, it's for westbound traffic only. So
That's for
there's-
cars?
Yes,
Oh, okay, so that's
And then-
cars, that's not the bike lanes.
the bike
Are you
lanes
looking at the-
highlighted in
the
yellow
left turn
here
arrow?
Grayed out arrows?
for,
He's looking at the existing arrows.
Are you
Grayed
looking
out
at the
arrows?
grayed out arrows in the background? or
Yeah, I guess
left turn
I-
arrows?
Yeah, there's this, so the yellow right,
so the yellow is the bike lane going.
no, that's the bike lane going that direction. Okay, it goes
Yes.
that way.
And then this one is going the opposite
So
direction.
why is that so much greater than the other one?
There's a bigger buffer to make sure that the bikes are protected from the larger vehicle movements as they approach the S curves at this area. And that's why there's also vertical elements proposed to protect the bicyclists even more.
So,
Because that area is needed for buses and larger vehicles to make the
so the
turning.
buses are
movements.
coming from Evelyn and they're gonna make the S turn,
Yes.
right? And so you have a bike lane on the right-hand side for them. So that's narrow, but you would. Okay, but I understand that it seems like the bike lanes that are going southbound is much larger.
The buffer is much larger, so you can see the hatched area is
Yeah.
much larger, and that's really to accommodate like bus and large vehicles swing as they're making around the corners.
So they'll swing
So the
that
bike
way.
lane, yeah, the bike lane itself is not super wide, but the buffer is much wider to accommodate the larger vehicles that
Now-
are gonna make that movement.
You just said there's gonna be class 2 and class 4 buffered bike lanes. If there's no cars coming down east on Evelyn, why do you need buffered bike lanes?
If there's no cars coming east,
So it's like behind the police station in there, where you're losing the 10 parking spaces.
I mean, it's still to protect, so as you can see the vehicle lane sneaking up through and making that S curve, it's really still to protect the bicyclists from that vehicle overhang swing as they're making the turns.
So, refresh my memory on a class 2 and a class 4 buffer. Bike lanes,
Class 4 will have a vertical element.
okay. And
Class
class 2,
2 does not necessarily have it. Class 2 is your basic striping. Class 2 buffer has the basic striping plus additional
Okay.
striping, additional
Okay.
paint on the ground, so to speak.
Okay, because I'm trying to learn what type of conditions make you put a 4 in. And then where a 2 would suffice, okay? Seen that, okay? Then, on 6, okay, that's where those bike lanes are coming. Go to the next. Slide. Okay, on slide 7, parking is tremendous for businesses. So why do you need to take out 10 parking spaces? If you have no traffic, so the cars, well, if the cars, you've taken up parking spaces, where's the cars gonna turn around? So that's sort of, yes, you don't need parking because there's no cars that are gonna be able to turn around. Correct?
Yes, cars would have to go
I mean,
southbound on
Okay,
Wild.
can you point there?
Cars
If
would
your
have to
screen doesn't help.
cars going
Wild Cherry
eastbound would
Lane.
have to turn onto Wild
So
Cherry
the
Lane.
Wild Cherry Lane is where you're losing the 10 parking spaces.
Yes, between Wild Cherry Lane and Castro Street. So
Okay.
a couple on the south side of Evelyn and then a few of the perpendicular parking in between the boxes you see where the trees are.
So are cars, I mean, I'm not that, refresh my memory, are cars able to drive through there and go onto Central Expressway now?
No.
So right now, there's
There is no connection to
Okay,
Castro
so
from this side of
there's-
Evelyn.
people parked there though?
Yes,
So then they just sort of do a
It's essentially a dead end.
dead end, and then you just gotta figure out how to turn
Yes.
around.
yeah.
Okay. So is there any way to save some of that parking?
Yeah, I wondered that.
We are evaluating replacing the total 12 parking with additional maybe parallel parking on the north side between Wild Cherry Lane and Castro. Because we are losing the perpendicular parking between those trees. It's too close to the crosswalk. We don't want the vehicles to back into the bike lane and the crosswalk. But perhaps some parallel parking
Yeah,
could
that
be
would be great.
reintroduced.
If you're no traffic, it's a dead end. Are you putting in the class 2 buffers?
The class 4 on the south side.
Why, if there's no cars coming through? Why couldn't you do class 2 and save the parking? If it's a dead end street, cars aren't gonna be going there in a lot. So what protection are you, that's what I'm asking. Can a 2, since it's a dead end, you won't have traffic versus the 4 where I see the cross marks? Is that correct? That's gonna be a 4 versus a 2?
Yes. So there are 2 parking spaces that will be removed on the south side between Wild Cherry Lane and Castro Street. They are proposed to be removed because if we do not remove them, and if they park there, we don't have a way to kind of get them out safely
Well, how are
again.
they getting it out now?
So we are proposing Evelyn as a one-way street.
Okay.
So,
Right now, there's no opposing traffic.
right
to make
now,
that-
correct. Right now, there's no opposing traffic. If I'm traveling eastbound towards Sunnyvale, I have to make that U-turn because there's a stop bar. We need to think about the circulation for those vehicles now. All of those vehicles are turning onto West Cherry Lane. If we were to turn that into a class 2 to accommodate additional parking, you still need to have that vehicle circulation going onto West Cherry. Wild Cherry, thank you. So what we don't want to do is we don't want to create a situation where we're inviting eastbound traffic to try to park in those parking spaces. So we need to be thinking about how to create a safe environment for pedestrians and bikes. Just in that Wild Cherry to Castro, that's a very tricky location. So if I knew that only westbound traffic was traveling there and only westbound drivers were going to park, it would be safe. But my concern is actually the eastbound drivers who choose to cut through the Wild Cherry, go around the barriers and try to park there.
Okay, now you made me thinking. Can't you make this parking available to the people that are going westbound?
We would be making it available to people going westbound, and we might do that for parallel. We mentioned that, so
Yeah.
we can look into that.
On the south side. If they're going that way, so we still keep your dead end, you're still gonna have limited people going in, okay. I would appreciate if you could save some parking, that would,
On the south side, meaning where the buffer is?
yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
We can explore that.
Okay, thank you. No, I just wanted to make sure I understood.
No, I thank you, because we gotta keep an open mind, especially for small businesses. We keep saying we're small business backers and we're taking out 10 spots, okay? That, and Wild Cherry, isn't that a lane versus a regular road?
Right.
It's an alley.
Alley, okay.
Yeah.
So let's distinguish, Wild Cherry Lane is an alley, not a street. So that's, it's not intended. Are you intending to have the buses come down Wild Cherry Lane?
No.
Okay, thank you. Go over to number 9, please. Okay, Ed. Remember, there was a conversation that on the westbound crosswalk, there was a young lady, Lisa Matichek and myself were on the CTC and said, FIAD wanted to eliminate that. And we said, can't we just have them walk from the northwest side over to the northeast side? And they said no. And so they put in that crosswalk for $1.6 million. And now you're eliminating it. So I find that interesting. I just thought you guys, and here's an example where you sit, okay, where you're actually telling people you gotta change your route a little bit. Okay. Precedent has been made. Okay, that's a comment. I shouldn't be doing that. Yeah, on slide 11, where you put the big X. Yeah, that whole lane was did that way. So are we doing any accommodation? Who's responsible for the signage? PTA or us to help guide people around this area?
The project will include signage too,
Mhm.
to guide the bikes and pets.
Okay. Let's slide 11, okay? Again, buses, slide 13. Oh, okay. This is the BPAC recommendations.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm still concerned about it. Okay. So it sounded, could you show where, now you're incorporating those into the project? Or you're considering those into the project?
We can incorporate those items without much impact to the project budget and schedule.
Okay. I'm a little concerned about you guys getting direction from BPAC, where there are recommendations in your. Okay, that's a comments, no, I'll get back to that. You know where I'm coming from on that one. Okay, okay, so okay. And then the 6.6 million, when was that budgeted?
This year.
So that money was, so the cost estimate is this year.
This year, but includes cost escalation, anticipating construction will begin in 2020.
Perfect. Okay, that's the end of my questions. So we will go to virtual comments. Would any members of the public joining us virtually or in person like to provide comments on this item? If so, please click the raised hand button in Zoom or approach. There we go. We will take in person. Okay, never mind. You have 3 minutes.
Bruce England.
Hi, everyone. Bruce England on Wisman Station Drive, speaking for Mountain View Coalition for Sustainable Planning. We did listen to the BPAC meeting, and there was a lot of really good discussion there. So in general, we are supportive of their recommendations over to you. There was some discussion when they talked about what counts as a recommendation and what counts as a comment and how things are recorded. They realized that the formal recommendations come from you on CTC to council, but there's hope that their comments and everything would be taken seriously. So we echo that at MVCSP. A couple of specific comments or things to emphasize. I have to go to my notes here on this. One is among their comments, the ones that's perhaps are most interesting to us are the removing the parking between Wild Cherry Lane and Castro, because it's probably not needed and it just helps to enhance safety for bicyclists and pedestrians moving through there, particularly the bicyclists. We like the idea of a walk audit. Those have been done in the past by the city, and this would be a great opportunity to have that done in that area. The improvements to the northbound Moffett Boulevard bike lane are incredibly important, as has been pointed out many times. There used to be a bike lane that went through, and now it just stops abruptly, and then it goes into a vehicle parking area, which forces cyclists out into the roadway. So that's not great. We for sure want to see that no right on red implementation at the northwest corner of Moffett and Central Expressway, realizing that that's going to involve work with the county. There was a comment, I think, that Councilmember McAllister made it, that El Camino, it was asked for on El Camino and they said no, but they actually did put some no right on red. I'm not sure exactly the locations, but I know there's one at Calderon. And it's adequately signed and everything. So it's great, really improves safety at that intersection and perhaps at other intersections along the way. We do strongly support keeping both pedestrian crossings across the train tracks and Central. Again, knowing there's going to be pushback from the county, but we would like to see the city really push forward on getting these things done and, just trying to be optimistic about what the county will approve. You never know unless you ask. Two other things are the lighting in the affected areas. We really want that to follow the anticipated requirements and guidance in the in-development dark skies ordinances. So you don't have to light the bejesus out everything in there to make people safe. It's actually, lighting needs to be done very thoughtfully, and that will be reflected in the ordinances, I'm sure. And then lastly, we'd like to see no use of artificial turf in any of the new landscaped areas. And any dripping or cone dropping trees, any of that sort of thing should be avoided around walkway and bikeway areas. That's all I've got. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Yes.
The Taylor Brown, is that the Taylor Brown that used to be our former police chief?
We don't know.
I saw the name there, that's why.
I think he's a consultant with Joseph Cervantes.
So do we have any more?
Yes, Adrian Brandt.
Good evening and thank you. My name is Adrian Brandt. I serve as the chair of the Caltrain Citizens Advisory Committee. I used to commute to and from the Mountain View Station, very familiar with that area. I want to commend the city of Mountain View for coming up with a very reasonable, affordable interim alternative at $6.6 million versus nearly $300 million for the full grade separation and ramp to Evelyn. So that's really good thinking outside the box, something we can implement much sooner. And as I think people have alluded, I have seen a lot of projects in my lifetime of this nature, and I believe there's a good chance this may be the permanent solution. So I second any concerns or comments around the concept that this may be permanent. I wanted to comment on the Rail Sentry. That is primarily aimed at, as a staff idea, aimed at preventing and well, not preventing, but reacting to vehicle intrusions off of the crossings. That's really not applicable for bikes and pedestrians because they don't get stuck on the tracks by accident by turning onto the tracks at night, which is the primary motivation for that system. The other thing is the bollards, the vertical delineators that they've been using, again, also to discourage people from at night mistakenly turning onto the tracks. I am sympathetic to the idea of keeping both crossings across the tracks. Currently, it's a full width crossing. And so there's really no compelling reason I can think of why it can't continue to be a full width crossing, only just for bikes and pedestrians. They could also be two separate pedestrian bike crossings that act as one with the grade crossing circuit tied together. So those are definitely possibilities. There was a comment asking for a scramble. That makes no sense at Central because you effectively have a scramble with that little plaza between the tracks and the crossing. I think on figure 9, it shows very well what I mean by that. So there's really no reason for a scramble on Central. I also agree with, I'm a Redwood City resident. I agree strongly with trying to ban the right on red, as was discussed earlier by a number of people. In Redwood City, Caltrans and the city together have done some no right on reds near high schools and so forth at busy crossings where there had been pedestrian safety issues. So that is something that's quite doable, and I would encourage pursuing that. Let's see. Let's see. What was the other? I had some other comments, but oh yes, and on train horn quiet zones, Atherton has it. Palo Alto, Menlo Park, and San Mateo are pursuing it, and I'd encourage it here too. Thank you.
Thank you. How many are in the queue?
3 more.
Okay.
Daniel Halsey.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So, I've got a few thoughts on this. I am a new resident. I go and I commute up to the Moffett Field area, and I have a lot of coworkers who do that same thing via bicycle. And a lot of them take Moffett. And I try to take parallel routes, but a lot of people take Moffett. It is unsafe, but it's the most direct way from the Caltrain station to Moffett Field on a bike. And I worry about some of the improvements in this just being not quite in the mark. Particularly at the intersection between Moffett and Central Expressway. You know, if you look at, what is it, figure 7, you have a merge that the bikes have to do going south to get into that bike lane, to get on the other side of cars who are turning right. That doesn't make really much sense to have a protected bike lane where you first have to do a merge with cars. And it's not necessary. We can just have the bike lane on the other side of the turn lane with a no right on red. That would be much more in line with how the city designs this kind of intersection in other parts of the city. And you know, there's other problems here. I've been very adamant to request more on the northbound, and I think kind of a broader point that we need to have is thinking about how do we phase this with the of our precise plan, where there's been in the public engagement very strong support for bike lanes, and you know, can we maybe do that sooner when this project happens so that we aren't tearing up the street multiple times? Something worth looking into. Other thing I would say, you know, there's some things at that intersection that we would want that staff keeps saying, oh, we gotta have the county do this. And so I would encourage the electeds who are on this committee, please talk to the county, because it would be a really missed opportunity, let's say, if we can't get the things that we want out of Central Expressway while the road project. And so that's my comment. Please work with the county and help them to give a better project, because we may be living with this for a long time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mary Dadio.
Good evening. I would like to ask that you actually consider making both sides of the bike lane be class 4, that you maybe let go of some of the buffer that's currently on the south side and add that buffer to the north side. Because as buses are heading north, and then making the turn around that corner to go west, there's at least on the staff report or the staff memo, whatever, the entire buffer on the westbound bike lane goes away, and buses are kind of coming right at you there until they make the turn. So that looks pretty scary. I think both sides should be class 4. I really highly recommend that some walk audits be done of this. Because until there were some questions from council about, what are the use cases here? So I'll just give you my use case. I use this intersection to get across town, across Central Expressway when I'm trying to head north and west on my bike, because crazy as it sounds, crossing Central Expressway here feels safer than a lot of other places. So I actually take Franklin northbound because there aren't any traffic lights, and then I'm heading east on Evelyn. So if you're looking at one of the diagrams, I'll be heading east on Evelyn, and then I guess I'm going to have to make a sharp turn to take the crosswalk across traffic to get to that plaza on the south side of the tracks. Then I go over to the 15-foot wide crossing, which I don't know if it could be made a little bit wider to help separate the bikes and the pedestrians. That might be a good idea. Then I'm going to go ahead back over to the west because I'm trying to get to Sterling Road. There's a bike path over there, a short class 4 separated bike path to Sterling Road, which then connects to the whole east-west bikeway that we have up there. So I'm going to be, I guess, sort of taking the bike lane, but in the illegal direction, if it's illegal, I'm not sure, to cross to the northwest corner of Moffett and Central Expressway. So I'm at the northwest corner now, which is where I want to be, so I can get on that class 4 bike lane and head up Sterling, which feels pretty safe. So because I'm riding sort of against traffic on that left side, I'm not sure if that's part of the design, because the circulation that was shown in the staff memo didn't cover everything. But in any case, I'm also a big proponent of no right turn on red from Moffett onto southbound Moffett onto Central Expressway. So again, I think it would be really interesting to hear a lot of other people's cases about how they go through this area. And so I highly recommend a walk audit. Thank you.
Before we get to the next person, what's a walk audit?
A walk
What are you
audit
looking
is-
that way?
A walk audit is an effort that designers will often use to look at existing conditions and observe how pedestrians, any types of users are using the space currently. And from there, you can kind of imagine benefits and improvements and adjustments, but
Isn't that standard procedure?
Recently, we've been inviting the public or residents.
Yes.
yeah, so the clarity here is
Including
feedback would like to be included in part of that, or members of the public.
And a follow-up, does your walk audit include a bike audit? Are bikers? So the last speaker just walked us through how she bikes through the area. Would that be included as well?
As you were saying, as a standard procedure, like, yes, that's how a designer would look at the space. It's like all the users and how all the users
They
are
actually go to the site and stand there.
That's the expectation.
Expectation. Thank you.
Because I imagine you would invite people for a walk and bike audit. If that's a thing.
Right. So for city staff, our projects, it's standard practice to go out and observe any normal, abnormal conditions, different days of the time periods, daylight conditions.
No, I mean, it makes common sense, makes great sense. Okay, thank you.
Sure.
And the last raised hand is April Webster.
Hi, thank you. I've been biking through the intersection at Moffett and Central for about 15 years. And I've personally experienced several near misses at that spot. Once almost being hit by a large truck, and once by a truck towing a boat. And this is north of the intersection on Moffett. At the last BPAC meeting, staff stated that safety improvements won't be considered for several years and instead addressed through the Moffett Boulevard Precise Plan. However, that still needs to be completed and improved. Only after that, a capital project created, then added to the CIP, prioritized for funding, and then finally designed, engineered, and constructed. Realistically, we're looking at about at least 5 years before we see any sort of substantial change to fix these safety issues. And that timeline is just too slow for issues that were actually worsened by some pandemic era design changes the city made when they created that class 2 hanging bike lane just on the east side of Moffett, north of Central. In the meantime, what happens is current design forces people biking northbound to merge directly into a 45 mile per hour traffic lane where the bike lane ends and parked cars begin. And this represents a noticeable safety regression from the previous design where bicyclists were instead encouraged to take the lane before the intersection, which meant they were already aligned with traffic before they passed through and didn't have to merge into fast moving vehicles after drivers had accelerated through the light. This new configuration shifts that merge to after the intersection, precisely when car speeds are highest. And the new design also exposes bicyclists to a right hook risk from drivers turning right from onto Moffett from Central. A quick build solution could address some of these unsafe situations, paint only fixes, continuing the bike lane, maybe a paint road diet, extending the protection, maybe removing parking. All of these are reversible and low cost and fully compatible with any future capital work. I don't think we should wait years for a long-term plan to address these hazards. You know, as Daniel mentioned, and also Mary, there are a lot of issues at this intersection. I would also like to ask if staff has conducted a recent traffic and speed study and any other sort of field observations to evaluate driver behavior, et cetera. And because, you know, as others mentioned, this geometry creates a really predictable right hook conflict at Central, and at the other turns, a no right turn on red restriction definitely would be great. And as others mentioned, a community walk audit would be of great benefit for this particular project, given how critical the corridor is as a gateway to downtown, you know, with an area with significant planned growth, et cetera. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Anybody else in the queue?
One more raised hands.
Okay, I will bring it back for any additional questions.
I'll move the recommendation to city council approval of the design concept for a transit center grade separation and access project. But including, I think, considerations that we all put forward.
Yeah, and then I thought some of the things that,
I don't know if we needed to list them. I'm sure staff has. I mean, there's the BPAC recommendations. I think we all made some recommendations.
yeah, and I thought I guess it was Mr. Brandt said in particular, banning right on red, looking into that. Many people have said that. He also said the two crossings, keeping the two crossings might not be a safety hazard. And the one of the residents, when she was walking us through her bike ride, it seemed like losing one of those made it, tell me if I'm tracking what she said right, getting onto the staring, am I saying it right?
Very good.
Bikeway, which a lot of people I imagine would be trying to do, would make her loop back and forth a lot. So
Boom, boom. Go north, make your left.
It's gonna be like a
And you're
Y.
right there where the
yeah.
Sterling is.
Anyway, I was interested in looking into that since I guess Mr. Brandt said it wouldn't be, I don't know, you seem to be disagreeing with him, but.
Going back to your first question, Mary Tadio, just to clarify, yes, it would be a longer distance compared to what she's experiencing now. Right now, it's an interim condition. The whole thing is open, so that's
Right.
not going to be that's how it's laid out as it's proposed.
And I bet you maybe do a 30-second delay to get some be on a bicycle.
Reflecting back on some of the BPAC comments, there were pedestrians that described their
Pedestrian, but this is
pedestrian
fine.
community.
Could you bring up the one where you're cutting out the proposed purple route?
So what I was gonna, just to finish my thought, for a pedestrian, that can feel like a cumbersome route if you're kind of detouring yourself across a plaza northward and then back across to get to Sterling. So that was the comment that came across at the BPAC meeting, was for a pedestrian that might feel cumbersome.
This
You
one
guys
right here.
can judge for yourself for that.
So they can go diagonal.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I think she's just talking about that she would go. She's coming down Evelyn. She would cross the street, then take
Yeah.
the diagonal. So it's some back and forth. There's that X
Questions if
there.
you guys don't have.
I tried to move the stop.
I know. I'm not
But I
gonna-
didn't get a second.
Well, we have also comments too, that if people would like to make some comments. So you got comments, because I'll go to my comments if you're.
I mean, my main comments are, we can move the staff recommendation, but I guess nobody seconded, so we can do it later. My main comment is I agree with what was said on getting more community input, because this is a really central location, and also it's likely to be permanent, or nothing is permanent in this world, but semi-permanent. And then getting in some, maybe through the community input, but some more design input, because I would really like to make sure that the things that we choose for it are the things that you would put in the center of a city that might be there for a while. Things including planter boxes and bollards and so forth.
So,
Oh, and the no banning right on red. Yeah, and the one on both sides being class 4, is that something that's of the bike lane having more, I think she's saying a little more equal buffer, so that, I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, all things being equal, that makes perfect sense on this particular condition and this layout. It's really the bus turning movements that are really dictating the size of that buffer.
Okay, I'll go with what you say, unless you get more community input. But yeah, so it's community input, design for a gateway, and banning right on red are my 3 big ones.
thank you. I'm a minimalist. Yes, Robert shakes his head. I see this particular, just for this example here. We need to make cost decisions, not jeopardizing safety, but we want to get projects done. This particular route looks perfectly sensible to me. We can't, if we accommodate everybody saying we take a walk here, take a walk there, we're never going to get to the point where it makes sense dollar-wise. And I'm not trying to say safety is more important than dollars, but we can do both. And this route, as I say, works fine. And going that point, I don't think I would like to see bike lanes at this is projection or observation, and I could be totally wrong. And if you guys say this is what's required, then I'll go with it. But you're putting bike lanes, they want class 4 bike lanes everywhere. And do we really need it? Is there the data? We don't have the data yet to say we justifies this. And everything I like to see is data that justifies. A no red on Moffett onto Central Expressway. How many bicyclists are going that way? I'd like to see the data on bicycles going and turning westbound on Central Expressway. If we don't have that money, it doesn't justify it. because we are still, this is still a major thoroughfare, this east-west Central Expressway. So we want traffic to flow there. Was the parking on Moffett Boulevard going to be taken up, the removal of parking on the Moffett Precise Plan? Or is it involved with any part in this discussion tonight?
This project does not include any removal of
Okay,
parking
thank you.
north of Central.
Public input, I would like to see strategic public input. I'd like to see it early on where they give us their input. And then it goes potentially staff, then it goes to CTC, and then it goes to council. If we want to get any project, and I say to look at this 7 years, we need to be strategic in our public input. Get it and make it go through the proper channels and not go back to one and say, oh, we want to look at committee says, well, we want to look at it. No, you had your opportunity to give us your feedback, and then we need the professionalism of the staff to evaluate it to say, this makes sense, makes financial sense, and it gives us safety, and it keeps us on the timeline and keeps us on our budget. Because every time we delay any project in this town, it's going to cost us tens of millions of dollars because of inflation. So I'd like to keep us on track as much as possible. I'm still concerned about the buses moving around, and that's a concern of mine. The comments from the public, the BPAC, their input. I appreciate their putting their input, but I like to make sure that staff recognizes that all it is input, and it's their recommendation, and that not to anticipate putting things in unless you can justify it. They have had their input, they gave it to us, but I see the council as the ones that say, yes, we accept them or we don't accept your ideas. So I don't want to get the horse in front of the cart in front of the horse. And I've seen that done too much in my short time here, that staff will take this. And it could be very valid, but I'd like to have it vented a little more before us, because they are concentrating on this. We as a council have to look at a big picture of what's going to work for 80,000 people in this community. And we need to make sure that our dollars are going to be spent wisely and efficiently on these things. And so doing all these things and conduct a walk audit. I experienced when we had a situation where a walk audit really didn't take place to see a project, and then once we were out there, it looked a way to move it around. So I would hope that was somebody is on the ground that is always looking at it. So would that be planning or would that be traffic? So planning looks at it, goes out there and visualizes it, or is there another department that goes out and also looks at it visually?
Who would conduct a walk audit for this project?
For any project, going for any project that's involved with traffic.
For this project, it's a capital project, so it would likely be a combination of staff and the design team. And then if we chose to invite the public, then they could attend.
Okay, I just want clarity, but yes, I appreciate that doing that. Okay, let's see, any other comments? I mean, I heard the public, but again, I'd like to get this moving smoothly. And if you say 26 construction, okay.
27.
Oh, 27.
Finish design in 26.
Okay,
Okay, maybe I can make a motion including your comments, John.
sure.
So that would be a motion, recommend city council approval of the design concept for transit center grade separation and access project with early strategic public input and design with the possibility that it may be a permanent gateway to the city.
And I like to also just one point of data of how many people they expect on Evelyn. Now, just saying highly anticipated, I like to see potential. If you have current data on people going wherever they're going, let's see if that actually pans out to what we anticipate. You can do that.
You're asking for not data in the motion, but data as side information to you.
I would like
Let me
that in the
clarify.
motion.
Motion. Okay, so you want the motion to include that next time it comes back to us, the staff report includes data?
Data where people are coming
I
and
don't know why
going.
that would be. I think they could take it outside of the motion.
We don't have a next time. I mean, this is
yeah, this is-
concept that we're taking to
Oh,
you, and then
okay.
if bids come in, great,
Uh-huh.
right? We're,
Okay, I'm
um,
sorry. I thought it was coming back to us. So you would like a memo on that? Maybe, I'm not sure that has to be in the motion.
Well, I think okay, we're getting to the design point. I want to see data that supports what they're doing.
So I think that earlier when I was asking questions, part of what I was asking was, telling the story behind this project. It's interim, but as I was mentioning, it's gonna be probably, semi-permanent. And so my request is, that we would tell more of that story in the staff report when it comes back to the full council. I think that some of the data points and the information that the two of you are asking for, staff can provide offline or can provide in that meeting. So I don't think I think that things can, if the idea is to keep things moving, then I would suggest that staff just incorporate our feedback and bring it back to council. And that would be an opportunity as staff was saying, they could look into, I was taking notes, they had some data on the Castro Evelyn interim improvements, and they could probably disaggregate from AM PM and they can get back to us. So I don't think that they need to do any more data collection. I think it's just maybe perhaps sharing it with the CTC. Yeah, so I think that when this comes back to council, perhaps that could be as an attachment or however staff would like to do that. I think there's a way to move this forward and
Yeah, I agree. So when it comes to council, have the data included in the staff report.
and I think that's a way
We can do
to include that.
Okay,
And so that's my motion.
so what Allison said that we didn't think it was coming back to
Okay,
us.
great. So my motion seconded, maybe.
One last question, would it be going back to BPAC? Okay, okay. Oh, hi, Ed.
Thank
What
you
would
for
you like to add to the conversation, please?
Ed Arango, Assistant Public Works Director. Thank you for recognizing me. I appreciate Kamei's comments that provide some clarification. And I wanted just to provide context on timing and sort of public input as well. The BPAC input and then the CTC input is part of our public effort process, to get input, to gain information. And so, I appreciate that context of, there's a desire to do a walk audit. I'm hearing conflicting points on go fast, but get public input. So BPAC and CTC are opportunities for public input, and we want to use these venues for that. And we absolutely can consider this going forward, for walk audits early in the process. We are currently in design for this. You heard Senior Engineer Houghton speak to, we got 35% this summer and we're now 65% design. We want to kind of give a layout to BPAC, which we did, and to CTC on what it looks like on concept level and allow us to proceed forward. So next stop is planned to be council approval of the concept.
And that would be another opportunity for public to give their
That is
input.
correct, yes.
Okay, so there's 3 opportunities for public to put input.
Yeah.
Okay.
So at that point, though, effectively, what kind of input can you put in, or is it too baked to really make any changes?
So it's, time is not our friend. As we, develop projects, we try to get, keep them moving. And so early in the design concept, if we can include, input, and that's why we use BPAC and CTC, that's the time. Now is the time. So we heard BPAC's input, we heard the public's input. We're getting more input tonight. We're trying to incorporate all this into the next stage. If you're asking us to go to council and recommend a walk audit, that means, what happens if we get input that is inconsistent, and then we're coming back to CTC and council for a change in recommendation? That slows down the project. Just to give you some context of timing, and that wasn't our intent. If council directs us to do that, and there's a recommendation from CTC, we just need to provide that informational impact of the project as a result of that walk audit.
I can support that. But the question on the walk, isn't that part of just the normal but you said it's not normal process to walk, not opening it up to everybody, but just to walk it and see it. Is that correct?
Correct. The normal process is for the design team,
So
and
it's-
users, and like oftentimes we'll work with the transportation team or other internal staff.
Okay, so the staff does that anyway.
That's correct. Yeah,
Okay,
staff,
so
staff is
that-
on the ground in the field evaluating
Okay,
current
then
conditions
that's-
every time we do.
Answers my concerns.
One more.
Without the public.
Correct.
Correct.
One more element that came up at BPAC, they made a motion for CTC to consider the two crossings. And so we'd like some input on if CTC supports that or not on putting more emphasis to Caltrain to identify an opportunity to keep the two crossings or just going with the one crossing.
We should give some context on Caltrain already say no.
Yes.
I'm in favor of the one. I don't.
We just wanted that
People, you
clarification.
know, we say, go out and be active, and then we go, well, here's a shortcut. It doesn't take much to do the 30-minute, 30-second across the street. So I support that, not to do the two crossings.
That was all I had. I just want some clarification. So thank you.
There's a motion on the table, or shall we, any clarification on it, or we will move ahead? Take the vote.
Am I seconding? I'll second.
Okay. All in, just staff.
Can we clarify exactly what the motion is again? So I got lost along the way.
At what point, as soon as I start.
Okay, so I think it's the staff recommendation. Um,
Everything Ed said.
Sure. I was writing it down if I can help.
oh, please, okay, yeah.
So we heard a motion for the staff recommendation. And then after some clarification from Councilmember Hicks, additional input on the additional emphasis on providing design input for the gateway element of the project. So and then again, this strategic public input, evaluating that. And so sort of I'm hopeful that it can be going forward on projects. As you know, as I mentioned, BPAC and CTC here is a part of the public input. So we get clarification on that second part.
No, you're good. I got a third part, but DGA's giving out money for art, so we'll bring that up at another time.
And that's,
And then-
can be part of design for
Yeah.
possibility that it may be permanent.
Okay.
And then the last piece was the data that Councilmember McAllister incorporated, and Kamei outlined it perfectly well on. Let us do that as part of the council report that goes forward.
Perfect. You guys are running, so we got
Yeah, we got it.
Okay. Questions called, all in favor? Passes unanimously. Okay, we will go to our next item. What did I do with that? Anybody need a break?
No, just keep going.
Okay. 5.2.
Yes, interim head mall improvements, Dana and Villa intersections, project 2349. Give us some moment.
Yeah.
Give us a moment while senior civil engineer Jose Joseph Cervantes is on the screen. He'll be doing the presentation.
And I'll take a 3-minute break then.
3 minutes?
3 minutes.
Very good. Thank you, Joy.
We talked about that last time we met in the fall.
Oh, we did.
Yeah, we did.
Looks good, Joseph.
Laura?
Can you guys see me?
Yes.
Okay, maybe I'll hide my screen. Or just my face.
All right. Before we move on, I just want to say thank you to the staff. I never, when I sat here and started looking at all the moving pieces and tying it, that was quite a task of threading the needle and bringing all those things to make a mosaic of transit. I like that phrase, mosaic of transit. But that was very nice. And I just want to make sure that you guys realize that I appreciate that was quite a trick. Trying to juggle all the pieces and trying to get it there. And then taking our input and saying, oh, okay, good for that. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Staff appreciates that input. We'll talk about another complex location. Item 5.2, interim pedestrian mall improvements, Dana and Villa intersections, projects 2349. I'll let Joseph Cervantes introduce himself.
Hello, can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Okay, well, good evening. My name is Joseph Cervantes, Senior Civil Engineer with the Public Works Department, presenting on the interim pedestrian mall improvements project at the Castro Street intersections with Dana and Villa Streets. And apologies, I couldn't be there in person. So which Castro intersections are included in this project? The aerial photo shown here illustrates the project location and the 3 intersections proposed to receive improvements: Villa Street, Dana Street, and finally California Street. Before we dive into what those improvements are, here's a little project background. In 2020, as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, Castro Street between Evelyn Avenue and California Street were closed to vehicular traffic to allow outdoor dining to support local businesses, and the Castro Streets program was implemented. In 2022, a council ad hoc committee was formed to review and provide direction for the design guidelines and implementation plan for an interim pedestrian mall along Castro Street. Later that year, the City Council introduced and adopted an ordinance for establishing a pedestrian mall on Castro Street. In 2023, the ad hoc committee recommended that Council approve a modified signal control at the Villa and Dana Street intersections. Council also approved the ad hoc committee's recommendation for a single centralized pedestrian crossing at Villa and Dana, and a roundabout at California Street. And finally, last year, City Council authorized a professional services agreement with Kimley Horn for design services and construction support. At this council meeting, staff recommended phasing the project, and a design concept for Villa and Dana Streets was presented to council and is shown here on the left side. This design includes removing the 2 north-south crossings and replacing them with a single center crossing in the middle of Castro Street, modifying street curbs to shorten the pedestrian crossing distance, installing new bollards and fencing to guide pedestrians towards the center crossing, and installing new traffic signal equipment. On the right side is an area of California Street where we are planning to convert the existing traffic circle into a modern roundabout. Due to the limitations in funding and to not delay construction of improvements at Villa and Dana Streets, the project will be constructed in 2 phases. Phase 1 will include the design and bid package for the Villa and Dana Street intersections, and Phase 2 will include the design and bid package of the California Street intersection. At the moment, only the Phase 1 concept is being developed. This aerial shows the existing conditions at Villa Street, which are similar to conditions on Dana Street. We currently have 2 crossings which do not allow pedestrians to continue along the center of the street, bollards and railings, and outdated traffic signal equipment that require replacement to accommodate a center crossing. This next slide shows the proposed improvements at Villa Street, which also applies to Dana Street. The proposed design will include the following elements: pedestrian crossings that align with existing sidewalks along Castro Street, a center street crossing that includes a 21-foot wide opening that lines up with the recently installed ribbons along the pedestrian mall walkway, removable bollards to provide access to emergency vehicles, reusing the existing colorful round bollards, bulb outs to shorten pedestrian crossing distances. Existing decorative fencing will also be used to provide a consistent pedestrian mall treatment. New traffic signals and pedestrian push buttons. New uniform thermoplastic crosswalk treatment that extends the entire width of the street, and refreshed striping. These concepts for Villa and Dana Streets were presented to BPAC at their June 25 meeting. BPAC's motion was to recommend that the CTC approve the design concept and added a few post-project recommendations, including adjusting the signal timing, evaluating the posted speed limits, and considering the installation of speed humps. Staff will be adjusting the signal timing with phase 1 of the project. Once construction of phase 1 is completed, staff will conduct a speed survey to determine if Villa and Dana Streets are eligible for a speed limit reduction. Staff will also determine if the installation of speed humps at the side street approaches is warranted. So here are our next steps. We will seek council approval of the design concept in March of 2026. We anticipate phase 1's design to be completed by the summer of 2026 and construction to begin in the fall. Construction is to be funded through the upcoming CIP budget cycle, and we expect phase 2's design to begin in 2026 once construction funding for phase 1 is secured. Staff's recommendation is to recommend that the City Council approve the design concept for the interim pedestrian mall improvements, Dana and Villa intersections, Project 2349. Thank you. This wraps up the presentation.
Thank you. And I'll bring it back to committee. Any questions from the committee?
Questions? So what is, I didn't get the full term, thermoplastic something or other.
Thermoplastic crosswalk?
Yes, what is that?
Yes, so we will be using thermoplastic for the entire width of the crosswalk. And that's going to show, that pattern that you see on that exhibit. And so it'll be, instead of having, stripes for crosswalk, you'll have that thermoplastic treatment.
It's like a fake plastic brick?
So, Ed Arango, Assistant Public Works Director, let me see if I can help with the question. So the thermoplastic is a materials type that we use for crosswalks. So it's the white striping that you see at the standard crosswalks, or sometimes yellows. There's two materials. It's just standard paint. And the thermoplastic material is it's a more durable material that lasts a lot longer, and we prefer to use it. And so the intent is to use that same material, but in a pattern across the entire intersections.
I see. So do we use it anywhere else in the city?
We use it, yeah. Again, there's two types of material.
So we use it as, now we use it as plain, but there's a pattern that it's going to be used instead of the plane that we usually use. That's what you're saying.
Correct. If you can think of the white striping at the intersections, that's typically thermoplastic. It's a durable material that doesn't wear away like paint. And then we're planning on using that same material, but in the pattern across the intersection.
So an example might be at Valley Fair Mall, where you're crossing to Santana Row. There's a thermoplastic kind of a grid pattern on the street that's just flat.
In there, but I did not take a close enough look.
It's white. It's white. If you're ever in Sunnyvale, on Matilda Avenue going into downtown, it's thermoplastic fake brick where it's thermoplastic material provides the color, and then there was a brick pattern stamped into the asphalt.
So I think when I was on the ad hoc committee, we looked at some of those and we were looking them over, and some we felt were kind of chintzy and inappropriate looking. But that's in my deep past memory now. Are you gonna work for some of these details like picking bollards and picking patterns and stuff like that? We used to hire Gale Design when I was on the ad hoc committee, we had a designer we were working with. Are we going to do that, or their contract is long gone, or?
So Gil provided design guidelines as part of their contract, and we've been adhering to those design guidelines as part of the interim improvements. And so these will be consistent with those design guidelines. Regarding the bollards, we're looking specifically at bollards that are consistent with the look and feel of the downtown. I don't know if Gail specifically dealt with bollards, but like all the fencing and all of the color schemes are consistent with, this project will be consistent with the Gail design, overarching design concepts.
So, let's see. I guess those were my main questions, and they reflect some of my concerns that I can bring up when we do comments and not questions.
Okay, so I'm gonna have you guys go to the Wayback Machine and say, why are we doing this? I was here in 20 when we closed it, but it says original project scope, single centralized modified street. So why are we going, what's the driving motivation of doing all this?
Sure, the driving motivation of doing this is this is part of the interim pad mall improvements that were initiated. So the decorative fencing around the restaurants, the striping down the middle. If you remember a few years back before we did those, restaurants had an inconsistent use.
Oh, yeah.
So we wanted more consistency, and we wanted a centralized walkway up and down through 100, 200, and 300 blocks. So what we're seeing now is that between those blocks at the intersections, the pedestrians need to move over to the sidewalks. So council directed us to look at opportunities for us to create a centralized walk area across the intersections. So you have a more consistent look and feel to the mall as you peruse
Third
all
Street
three
Promenade
blocks.
type thing. You ever heard Third Street Promenade, Santa Monica?
Maybe vaguely. I'm not a Southern California guy, but if you want to pay for a trip, I'll go.
No, but you're saying the goal is to get people walk down the middle, not on this, go to the side of the curb and cross.
We're almost there. We've got them walking down the middle within the blocks, and this would allow for that continuity across the intersections.
So it says interim. How is this interim? Because we got the downtown vitality program, we got a group working on that. We got the precise plan that's going to be 4 years out. And hopefully, isn't there a CIP to level the street across?
That is the permanent.
Yes, and when is that targeted to come on?
It's on the unscheduled list because it is quite expensive to raise a street up 6 inches all the way across for 3 full blocks.
Oh, okay, we can work on that one. Okay, so, but what is the budget on this?
Joseph, do you have the budget numbers?
Yes, so for these two intersections, we're expecting construction to cost about $1.7 million for both intersections. And so that includes upgrading the existing traffic signal equipment and all of the other improvements that I mentioned in my presentation.
Would the upgrading of the traffic signals be part of our bigger strategy to have a centralized AI street signal we were gonna somewhere years ago, we were gonna get a centralized traffic center where we could see everything going and all that stuff. So,
Oh, a traffic management center. When we redo the traffic signal, it will likely get a new traffic controller, which would then be compatible for being able to have the communications back to a traffic management center if and when we get one.
okay, that's why I just don't want to spend money on 1.7 and all of a sudden, oh, that's not gonna cut it, okay? The roundabout, we have a roundabout at California now. Are you gonna, I like roundabouts and they're becoming more popular even on highways, so. What's the strategy on that? Since we sort of already have one.
So California has a signalized intersection with Castro.
Oh, okay,
When
so
you approach it,
even though you go around, it's not a true roundabout.
green, yellow, red, just like a regular intersection. It happens to have a round object in the center.
So are you gonna eliminate the signal?
That would make it a modernized roundabout, eliminating the signals, and then when we'll bring you back the layout, it will look substantially different because it will have pedestrian and bike infrastructure, so that it's more defined on, pedestrian areas, vehicle areas, bike areas.
I know I'd love to see the data on how efficient that's gonna make that intersection. It will make it more efficient.
It will make it more efficient, yeah.
Okay, good.
Because we're changing it to a pedestrian wall.
No, down here.
Yeah.
But that's just people coming and going. They won't sit there and wait time and drive time and mission, so. Okay, and wow, so we're gonna do the earlier project that we heard tonight. We got this project coming down the pike. Are they gonna clash? I mean, are we gonna impact businesses? Are we taking out parking spaces with all this stuff? How's the timing of these two projects? The Castro Evelyn project and this gonna be synced? Somewhere along the line, it looks like they're gonna cross over.
So these are discrete projects because we're talking about Dana and Villa as phase one. I believe Joseph's schedule said that we would be approaching the end of design in the first half of 2026, moving into construction in the fall. So this will be ahead of the Castro Evelyn.
But I thought we were gonna, in 27, we were also gonna start construction there, so.
So there might be some overlap. We'll have to work that out with the contractors.
Okay, and we're gonna be able to accommodate the businesses or minimize the disruption? As such?
For this particular project, for Dana and Villa, the disruption will be temporary and it'll be typical traffic control. So we'll be thinking about pedestrian movements, bike movements, vehicle movements within Dana and Villa. Not necessarily impacting traffic on Evelyn, because we're not really closing down. Villa, for example, is a bus route. So we're not necessarily proposing that we close down Villa. We'll be phasing that one area or the other.
Because Villa is gonna be a major route for buses going in and out, going to the shoreline. And so this other stuff. What's the thought behind the bulb outs? We don't have a lot of. Yeah, why are the bulb outs coming? I mean, taking the curbs and bumping them out a little bit. Couple of feet or so, is that anticipated to slow down traffic or to help people get across? Because we're not talking a lot of, 10 feet maybe total on either side to walk.
Yeah, bulb outs are often used for the benefits of the pedestrian crossing. So we're shortening that pedestrian crossing. What we've seen over the past few years is pedestrians choose to do what they want on Castro. Some of the rules that pedestrians often follow in other areas of the city, they have a little bit more freedom of movement. So having a little bit more space behind a bulb out gives them a shorter crossing distance. It alerts the vehicles that the area is necking down. So there's a natural tendency to slow down as you're approaching these intersections, even with the green light. So all of these are
Have we had any issues before?
Safer.
I would say modern practice is to where we can get bulb outs, put them in because it limits the exposure of the pedestrian for a conflict area with the vehicle. So to shorten a crossing distance limits that
I
exposure.
know, but I'm getting Mr. Tight money on the thing, and we're spending that. And you got the signal light that's gonna help them get across anyway, so, okay.
So these particular holdouts will be paint. We're not looking at making these into concrete curbs.
Oh,
So maybe rubberized, maybe a rubber curb, but nothing permanent.
okay,
We'll get things done.
GSD. Okay, what's the length of this project gonna take?
So, construction is going to take about 6 months. And so we're going to, design is going to be finished in June of next year. And so we're thinking that, this phase 1 of the project will be completed by the early part of 2027.
I guess there's a lot to be learned about traffic construction and how long it takes to design things, so.
Yeah, there is a long lead time item on traffic signal poles. So I think what we're saying is active construction time is closer to 6 months, but there will be a delay I think there's only one like manufacturing plant that makes traffic signal poles and it's in the middle of the country. And so it runs about 9 months now.
So is that the same company that we had the issue on Sleeper and Grant because of the traffic poles were delayed?
I mean, a typical time to receive a traffic signal pole after placing the order is, it can run anywhere from 9-10 months.
So how soon do you place that order?
Once we get the contractor on board, typically one of the first orders of work is to alert them of long lead time items and to really just start working the schedule based off of things like that.
So how well are we doing on coordinating product coming in and timeline with the construction?
You mean our track record? I mean, I think we're pretty good at keeping the contractors moving. Always, we're at the mercy of the traffic signal pole plant, if that's the right words. And how quickly they can manufacture and, other orders that they have. But in general, our team does a pretty good job of staying on top of the contractors.
No tariffs involved here? Okay, okay, and will there be any conduit put in the ground to anticipate any advances in technology?
Joseph, does this include conduit placement?
Yeah, I believe there will be conduit placement for the pedestrian push buttons, which will be going into the middle of the roadway. And I think that's pretty much it, just some electrical.
So there'll be push buttons or waving the hand on all 4 corners plus in the middle?
Yes.
Pedestrian buttons right next to the center walkway.
So there'll be, how many buttons are we pushing are available?
There'll be at least 4 on each side.
Whoa, so that's 8.
Yes.
Per intersection.
Wow, okay. I have no more questions. We'll open it up to the public. If anybody else has any follow-up questions? Okay, anybody virtual on this one?
Yes. Bruce England.
Hi. Bruce England, Wisman Station Drive. I had my notes and then I lost them, so I'm gonna have to try to remember. So one of the issues is the speed limits on those roadways. So on Dana, on Villa, and on California, looking at Google Maps and trying to determine what the speed limits are, it looks like they're between 25 and 35. I know that when I drive along there, which is unusual and rare, but when I do it, I'm bringing it down to about 15 miles an hour. I don't feel comfortable going any faster through there. So I'd like consideration for that. And that came from the VPAC to bring the speed limits down, or at least look at them. And I would certainly like them far lower than what they are right now. Those intersections are just too narrow and small in scale to allow cars to go through much faster than that. There was a comment in the BPAC meeting about ADA ramps and that they oftentimes go off at weird 45-degree angles and don't really go in the direction of where the subsequent walkway is going to be. And I think sometimes that's done because of space constraints and so on, but as much as possible, have those ADA ramps go straight along the way would be great. And I'm also strongly in favor of doing something with that California intersection, that roundabout, putting a nice big native tree like an oak there. It's kind of a gateway for our city, and that would be a great presence to have in that location. Some cities do that. They specifically put large trees in their key intersections like that. It'd be a very nice touch in an area that's lacking in trees. That's what I remember that I wanted to say. Thanks.
You were just, and I was in Alaska. Thank you. Anybody else? And that's it.
One more. Mary Dadio.
Hi, actually just had a few questions, especially since traffic poles are long lead time items. I was wondering about whether it's really necessary to add more buttons, or if the same thing could be accomplished by having a timer at the intersections that just allowed for pedestrian crossings on a rather frequent basis, or having a camera sensor to trip it for pedestrians rather than having to run a bunch of wires and put new poles in. I don't know if that would be a significant savings or not. I love the idea of an oak tree in the traffic circle at California when you get to that. And I want to second also the comment about having the ramps in the direction that the pedestrians are meant to go for ADA compliance. Thanks.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Yes, there's one.
Yes.
Mhm.
Oh, how many more are in the queue, please?
Just one more.
Okay, thank you.
Albert Jeans.
Oh, Albert.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. Yeah, I confess this is the first time to look at the details of this project, but my big question is, now you have like 3 crossings at the street. Why not just get rid of those little fences there and just make it one wide crossing? I was in Japan. You're probably all familiar with the Shibuya Scramble. It's this huge intersection. 5 streets are coming together. And at one point, all the cars stop and everybody can cross. They don't need buttons in the middle of the street. They don't need a lot of extra signals. Everybody just knows, when pedestrian signal goes on, you can go anywhere you want. And that's the case here now too, because you can essentially cross, Castro if you wanted to, going diagonally across. So why not make that possible and simplify things instead of having these little fences and extra buttons and all that kind of stuff? So that's just my, suggestion and immediate reaction. Thanks a lot.
Well, let's jump on that. Why can't we just make it a scramble? It's not that big of an intersection. Oh, rolls eyes.
So there is a balance here between openness and safety. I think there's been some ongoing discussions at the staff level that we're recognizing that Castro, like a lot of other locations, is a potential target for somebody malicious actor.
Oh, okay.
So having bollards is a protective element. So
why would that prevent people doing a scramble? Everybody crosses at one time.
my understanding from the question was specific to like opening up
Oh, okay.
the whole thing, including the bollard. So
Okay. My question is, forget the bollards. If you can just do a scramble and you don't, people figure out how they're getting across.
I know that our traffic group considered that. I'm going to look over at Joseph to see if he has an answer for that because I can't remember.
If I can
their
try.
underlying-
Who are you again?
Again, Ed Arango, Assistant Public Works Director. The way that we've developed the concept is effectively a scramble. When the pedestrians have the green to go, all vehicle traffic will be stopped on the side streets. So it'll effectively serve as a scramble, which means that pedestrians will be able to go in any direction, north, south, or from one side.
Diagonal, yeah, okay.
Yeah, we're just trying to, put clear indicators with the the signalized pedestrian elements to show that where those pedestrians are already walking down the center of the ped mall and as well as the sidewalks, that it's just a natural progression for them to be able to push a button there and then keep going. But they could cross, diagonally across the intersection if they choose.
But then why do we need 8 holes to push the button if we just figure out one button makes it a scramble for everybody? Why do we have to have somebody, well, we're getting away from push buttons, aren't we? Scanning that or waving it in?
It's for the people who are walking down the ped mall down the middle of the street, right? So they don't have to go to the corners to wave their hand to indicate that the traffic signal will allow them the green to cross. So they can stay in the middle, wave their hand over a ped push button in the middle, and then continue down the middle.
So we're accommodating people from walking 10, 15 feet to push the button.
We are encouraging pedestrian activity up and down the 100, 200, and 300 blocks and free movement throughout those blocks.
Okay. I just had a question. Somebody wanted speed bumps, but I don't think public safety would like speed bumps in that area. So, true or false?
So speed bumps are one tool. We can certainly evaluate it. I think that that evaluation is post-project, because some of the elements that we're putting in here with the bulb outs are already going to be traffic calming.
But I mean, you got public safety who's trying to get there in a somewhat quick way, and just that would be an unnecessary. So, okay,
That's fair.
Any questions? Then we'll go to comments.
We just had comments?
Well, I guess so.
Oh, you mean our comments?
Our comments.
Oh, I have our comments. I thought you meant more public.
No, we haven't. With public is completed. Correct.
Should I
No, yes, please.
start commenting? Okay, you asked for it. So I'm again, even more than the last one, a little uncomfortable with how fast this is going with, this is the center of our town, and I've seen when we did the previous, I was on the ad hoc committee. I should start with, I fully support the idea of enabling people to cross down the middle of the street, and I support a lot of the configuration, but I feel like there's a design element that is lacking. And so I've seen other pedestrian malls where kind of the, sometimes they call it street furniture. I feel that the fencing, it's not my favorite around the tables, but it's interim and it's what's available on the market. But for fences, I just think this is kind of suboptimal and not appropriate for a downtown. And I've seen, for example, on California Street, and I'm not necessarily recommending this, but they have actually, our downtown is nicer than theirs, but on California Street where it's car free, they have, instead of
Is this
bollards
Palo
and-
Alto? I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yes, it is Palo Alto.
Okay. that's a-
They have very large urns or vases with flowers in them. I mean, as large as a human being, that would stop cars. I think there are other choices that are better than these. So I feel like some of the furnishings or trim are not appropriate for a downtown. And I also think that the roundabout, I'm a little scared I know we're not talking about that necessarily now, but it was in the staff report. The current configuration, this is our historic downtown, and the current configuration is the scale of, a gridded street. I'm a little afraid that it's going to be turned into something that you might put on El Camino Real, or a very car-oriented strip mall kind of entering the freeway kind of roundabout. And that's not what I want to end up seeing here. I don't want something that kind of, takes over the sidewalks and is not appropriate for, a small scale walkable, window shopping kind of the only place we have in town. So I have a lot of fears about this, and I think we're kind of rushing through it. And I know that's probably not welcome comments, but that's how I feel.
Thank you.
And I think we could spend less money and get something nicer. I think we're focusing a lot on signalization and things that are not in a walkable area of town are not where we should be spending the money.
Mayor? Cheeseburger?
No, I mean, I think, I'm just absorbing the comments. I think that I think for me, it's always like, the project before and this one, we keep talking about interim, but I feel like how long is interim going to be? And so I think, reflecting on your comments, committee member Hicks, it's like, if it was interim, then I think this is like, the treatment's
Right, it was 2
appropriate,
years,
right?
it's fine.
But I think that you're thinking, how long will we be with this situation? In kind of the heart of our downtown, and I understand that. And so I think that that's where, for this is a little bit different. Do we know how long the interim is? Did I miss it? Sorry, did I miss it in here? Is it 2 years? Is it longer?
Well, 6 months and
No,
27.
no, that's how long it is.
Oh, yeah.
The permanent Ped Mall project is on the unscheduled list, so it does not have a time frame.
So we have
So
to.
like I last talked to Pat Berg, he's the last council member I talked to in Palo Alto. And he said they have a regular designer that they go to who picks out their street furniture. And I just think we need something like that. Not to disrespect anybody, I wouldn't want to pick out the street furniture. It's not my job, I'm not trained in that. And I think we need someone who does that. And I think it's pretty easy to get, but we don't have that.
Is that under previous public works? Wouldn't that be more of development? Community development?
I think what you're asking for are almost like downtown, like almost creation of like a downtown standards, right? And this is our first project. So what I'm hearing you say is that you want the certain amenities that we can control within the project to be I don't know, sophisticated, the right word, more sophisticated than maybe what's shown on the plans. What we do have here are concepts. I think if, we were to get some sort of recommendation to have the design team reevaluate some of these elements for something that's more, statuesque or whatever the right word is, it's like more suitable to a downtown.
It's an abrupt end, right? So we just talked about what we're gonna be doing for, what will hopefully become our grade separated, transit center, and it'll be really, I think, a really great opportunity for placemaking. A couple years ago, we got to see the public art, and then to go and end here at this rendering, I would say it feels just abrupt, I would call it. I like the idea of, continuing the traffic flow, but I hear what you're saying. So I think that we can.
It's all engineered well.
Yeah.
I mean, you all did your jobs really well, but it's just the design element.
So I think I'll go forward and I'll make a recommendation that we approve the staff recommendation with maybe an opportunity to have further discussions with the design team on some elements to create a little bit more
Urban pedestrian mall
sense
vibe.
of
Sense of place.
Yeah. I think it's where, so that'll be my recommendation.
Okay.
And I do think that's good feedback for us to talk about downtown design standards, and maybe that's part of the precise plan.
Is that a recommendation or a motion?
It's a motion, I just said.
Oh, no.
Oh, and I second that.
Okay, I got it. And we have a second?
Right, I'm a seconder.
Okay, discussion? Reported by Ted. Okay, didn't get a chance, so. I'm concerned that there's a lot of moving parts with downtown. And I'd hate to spend money on a design unless it was a comprehensive design, so that we spend money once for what we get and then it stays. So even though it's interim, I don't wanna, so I would just want to spend our money wisely. And so I don't mind standards. Well, let's get a good concept of where it's gonna fit in the whole part. So if people are doing parts, it's blended in. So that's what I'd like to see. If we can figure out how to reduce the number of buttons, if, you know, with the scramble or whatever, people are going AI and would love to see us pilot some cameras of AI. They are being done well in other parts, so potentially that could be a good place to do it so that you can pick up people. So we would be, this clarify that this would be a on-demand street crossing and not a cycles.
No, it takes time, correct, on demand. I will say I have tried the cameras for pedestrians in another place. It was a couple of years ago, did not end up working well. There's a lot of shadows and things, you know, cats and stuff running by, you know, that just sort of catch the attention of a camera. And, you know, cameras for vehicles work fine because vehicles are big and large and they actually, you know, stop there waiting for something. A pedestrian, sometimes they're moving around. They're not always static.
Okay,
So just a caution that it, you know,
I'm just
the
saying.
technology may not be there.
If you can find a way, I mean, if we're trying to reduce clutter, then no offense to this is gonna be 8 poles, and I don't expect them, they could be 4 feet. Yeah, or smaller, okay, but still, if we could figure out how to save some money and make it not so cluttered. Okay, ladies?
Yeah.
Did you get my, not cluttered and try to clean it up and, okay, standards? Does every.
Sure, if you can reduce clutter, that's.
Well, that's what, I mean, if we got all these
Clutter,
poles.
There's a way to do it, sure.
Okay, and I think somebody wanted to put a statue of, Washington in the center there. I think that was, or a water fountain. That's.
So for the benefit of the committee, the center of that circle in California has a sewer manhole, which means there's 4 intersecting sewer lines that go into that area. So I can't promise
Perfect for the water
tree.
because the water just goes.
Nice try.
But you gotta give me.
I can't promise
Okay.
a tree.
So everybody, Ed, we're, you're there, good? Council, okay, I have a motion on the table. It's been seconded. All in favor, say aye, raise your hand. Aye, okay. Hungry, okay. Motion passes unanimously with various comments about standardize and efficiency and not clutter. Yes, and monument would be good. Okay, next item. We go to 5.3.
No, 5.3.
Okay, we're on, oh.
Yeah.
Oh, we're at 5.2? No.
Yeah, we finished.
Oh, 5.2, we're
Yeah.
done, okay.
We're at item number 6.
6.
But 6.1 is staff comments and I don't have staff comments. So we can go to 6.2.
6.2, okay, I have some comments for you guys. And these are observations. This is for you.
Oh, wow, comments.
This is for you. This is for you. You probably know what I want. Okay, these are just, I want people to, yeah, I got one for everybody. Ed, you want to come by?
Sure, thank you.
You guys are familiar with this stuff. Okay, this one page is, go with this page. Okay. I'm not an engineer, but so I just want to bring this to your attention to look at how things are we over engineering or are we just, so this is Franklin and Sleeper Franklin. And if you count the poles, there are 10 poles that you see here. And this is just to make, and you turn left. So there's 10 poles there. I am working with the director and they are reviewing it. They were very open-minded when they were. Yeah, the trail entrance. And so if you can see arrows are going in multiple directions. But they were helpful in helping. This is, okay, this is down Franklin. Now you go and you look at it from Sleeper, you see a lot of more poles. Oh, you went too far. That's at nighttime. There you go. So it just, I'm looking at these things. Can we do things a little I mean, if you have to do them by the law, fine. If you can do them a little different. This is there's a night picture of where they sort of flash at you. Again, it gives you a little more context. So we're seeing that. And then the last one, again, I'm just talking about Sleeper and Grant. I'm talking about efficiency. You'll see two green lines on the thing there. And you will see those are two crosswalks coming across. I am working with the director to help better understand what's being built here. But
Orient Street.
Here, this is
No, the road.
this is Grant Road and this is Sleeper. So this project's been in the work for 8 years.
Oh, I'm facing the park.
You're facing the park. You're
Park,
facing
right,
north
right.
from.
I'm on Sleeper crossing.
You're on
Grant
Sleeper
versus
facing
Park.
across, yeah, and you can see the green line is where they have two crosswalks at Piers. And for reference, I took the director's input and put PD 1 on there so that everybody was on the same page.
This is Sleeper.
So,
So you're gonna
yeah.
cross to Grant. So this is Cuesta Park.
Yeah.
So that's what he's.
So the point I'm trying to get on both of these is is there a way to be efficient, safety, and bringing things at a more reasonable cost so that we can get our roads paved and our downtown set up? So I don't think you guys would have seen this or you think about it, but just bring it to when you look at something, you go, wow. And I don't want to say the phrase over engineer because I don't know what over engineering mean, and please forgive me for using that phrase, but if you look at this diagram, I asked the new question to you too. But there's a lot of traffic on Grant Road if you ever go down Grant Road, and it's very congested from about 8:30 to 9 and then 3:30 to 4 or now. So this is going to affect traffic tremendously. And is this going to be a signal? Or is this just
This
going
is
to,
a new signalized intersection, correct?
so you're going to have Grant Road and Cuesta, this is going to be a signal, and then a signal at Eunice?
This is a new signalized intersection.
Pedestrian hybrid.
This is,
hybrid beacon, so it's pedestrian activated.
so will one be pedestrian and one will be a traffic signal?
Oh, that's okay.
Please, name again?
Again, Ryan, Assistant Public Works Director. If I'm hearing you correctly, you're talking about the Grant Sleeper intersection.
Yes,
The intent is to put in a pedestrian hybrid beacon.
yes.
So we've seen Caltrans recently install those on El Camino.
Oh, no, I'm familiar with that.
So
Okay.
that's the intent. So it's not a full signalized
That's-
traditional intersection, it's a
Okay,
pedestrian
that's-
hybrid.
you threw me, oh, you were messing with me. Okay, so it's not a signal, but you're gonna have it, there's 4, you're gonna have 2 of those crossing the street? Because I saw 4 foundations on the corner.
So there's crosswalks that are going to be crossing Grant.
Yeah, 2.
Two of them, correct. And so that we're gonna have, we're gonna have signalized, infrastructure to, allow the pedestrian to push a button,
Yes,
activate the pedestrian hybrid beacon, and then cross one in there.
but why do you need 2 crosswalks?
Through the, evaluation of these intersections, so this, as you know, has a lot of history. We went through a study, as part of the, concept plan, we received feedback, and we went through BPAC and CTC that originally was just going to be a southerly leg crossing, not a northerly leg
Right.
crossing. And we there was a request to allow for bike. So the Sleeper, westbound Sleeper approaching Grant bicycle movement, to allow that bicycle movement to cross Grant and have an ability to push a button and get across Grant as a bicyclist without having to make that extra leg.
That extra leg is the 20 feet to get to the other side. of the
Going
street.
southbound on Sleeper and then crossing at the southern leg, correct? And so that was the request, and so staff incorporated it, and through the,
Who requested that?
that was requested, I believe it was through BPAC and CTC.
Okay.
And then, as we evaluated it through the design, recognizing the importance of pedestrian, again, leaning on the Vision Zero, another conflict point for pedestrians to cross Sleeper and then cross Grant and go. And we were putting a crossing for bike across the northerly crossing anyway. introducing a crosswalk for pedestrians there made sense.
Okay. Will it be data collected as this project goes forward to see how many people actually use the bikes and bikes?
We can do that. We are already collecting data for the vehicle movement. As again, if you remember, there's a lot of history on this project. The westbound sleeper approaching Grant, turning left onto Grant southbound. So we're restricting that movement. Vehicles will no longer be able to do that.
Yeah.
But we didn't put those as permanent improvements. We didn't put it in as concrete improvements in the median. We did sort of this rubber curb delineators, which are the white, yellow posts that you see, the plastic ones, and other signage to allow us to collect data post-construction to identify how that's going, so that way we can report back to the committees and commissioner and identify what we recommend going forward.
Because if you're restricting the left turn lane, you're going to encourage people to use the south crosswalk versus the north one. So you can't, okay, you're coming off a sleeper, you can't make a left turn.
Correct.
So therefore, there will be less activity and it was safer to be on the south crosswalk. Because everybody's going to be, those who can make a right. Okay, and so
there's an additional movement though. You would have to come and cross sleeper, but there's a conflict point there, and then cross Grant.
yeah, but, okay. Well, that's what I'm asking, if you could review that conflict point of crossing from the north side of Sleeper to the south side of Sleeper. It's gonna be interesting, because I'm concerned about the traffic. It's just outrageous. I mean, pretty good. And there was a no U-turn considered for people coming down southbound on Grant to do a U-turn there? Because right now you can't. Was there any consideration in not putting no U-turns there?
I don't remember any feedback that we received regarding no U-turns.
No, I'm just asking. Can it? I mean,
I don't recall that being
No,
a
yeah,
discussion item.
It wasn't a discussion item.
okay, just because that, if with all this other going on, somebody does a U-turn, it's gonna bottleneck it a little more. That's all I'm just asking. Okay. So I'm just showing you things that when we get up there and I'll say, hey, blah, blah, you're aware that maybe there are options out there.
You want comments on your comments?
Please comment on my comments. So I'm not-
If your comment is that sometimes there's a lot of visual cacophony, I think having children.
I think I know what it means.
Like lots of stuff out there to watch. Cacophony, okay, to watch.
It's like
while you're
tomato,
driving.
tomato. I don't know. Maybe he knows
That-
in other present
I never knew that I
pronunciation.
pronounced,
Yeah.
pronouncing it wrong.
No.
No,
it's
when
just
you're-
tomato.
I think that it can sometimes make it difficult to drive and less safe. And I particularly experience that when I teach kids to drive and they're like, so many signs to read. So yes, I think keep an eye on visual cacophony. I learned it word.
Thank you. I understand. Okay. Those are my comments. And then we already talked about the e-bikes that I'd like to get us, make sure that we on this committee can grab it and then champion forward. Because we got you're on the youth pedestrian, that would be our pedestrian youth advisory board, right? So that would be a good place to talk it and say, hey, what we can do. Okay, anything else from you there? Thank you for the input. I think, thank you for putting through this. Thank you. Perfect. And I appreciate you guys listening to things. I mean, this could be throughout the city. I mean, we know we're looking at California Street, people are going, what's going on? And is it really? And then, one other incident, I think I mentioned it to you. There was a big truck making a delivery on El Camino. And he had to take up a lane to do delivery because the bike lanes would not allow him to get into the commercial spot that he was going. So that's something that we're going to be living with. So, seeing no more, I adjourn this meeting until the next one that will be March the 3rd, 2026. This meeting is adjourned at 9:05.
Thank you.